package them, weigh them, seal them, and put them in the freezer. And then like put it back on, you know? Just my thing. Okay, all right, we're gonna just eat. Go for it. They're all happening. Yeah, we did it like 10,000 over, 10,000 over. I think one Christmas or something, he's trying to teach us how to almost destroyed all the living room furniture. Yeah. Oh, Carol. He was there. Or was he driving somewhere? All right. Really nice. Yeah, with some dipping sauces and
We're halfway there now. Halfway there to get back.
two people like the
They're really nice.
red trip. You know which two?
The most important two.
Yeah.
Not disturbing.
They're really good. Have they got salt on them?
Not enough for me. But that's individual, I guess.
Yeah.
But you could put chili, chili or
Because they were Christmas.
I'm part of the Christian food and drink. They're not Christian, fair enough. The person, the lady who runs it, marketing manager, Dr. something or other, anyway, it's an up and coming challenger brand company. Does the sauces thing. She says, they've already got a market.
I don't have a big appetite. I never have.
It's your guy.
I don't have a big appetite.
I haven't got into detail. So one of those is avocado oil based.
Oh, no. I couldn't. This also has
Oil-based mayonnaise, packet to the private label.
you know, they like spicy food, you know, the Jamaican food. And then they make sauces and stuff. I don't want to. No.
No, the rule was this: everybody had to get a bone. 1 spoon of meat.
Sorry. Sorry. But when you drink what they catch.
This is the only one, right? This side is raw. I was like, let me eat the let me eat the behind.
Will. Called Dr. Wills is the brand name. I think it's Will. Let's start from in one plate. We need a dual strategy.
I would ask people to clap for the cooks, but everybody has food in there. Right. No, but it's really good. If you like the bread from the wedges, we're going to export them to UK. Huh? Yeah, they love the wedges. They want it. That's one thing they want. Right away. You will bring them in your suitcase? Okay. Hello, everybody. Keep eating. I was going to get you to clap for the chefs, but wow. And the pork was great. You know that pork from Wepo comes from RNF, but it was butchered by by a number of people here. Yeah. Okay. But what I wanted to say is, after lunch, just as we're starting, you're welcome to go get an ice cream cone. Okay, if anyone wants an ice cream cone. Rose is paying. Don't worry about it.
For 2,000.
Yeah, okay, for 2,000. Otherwise, you'll get a waffle cone, right? But go ahead after this good food if you want to, or you can get one later this afternoon. And we trust you. You don't have to get a stamp or a pass or something. But you're welcome to get an ice cream sometime. Okay? Thank you, Rose. It's good perk though.
First thing I was going to say is, can we made your own cake? There's 3 other subjects we could cover. How long have we got?
Yeah, he failed. But he'll go at least till 5.
Alright, so
there may be some movement because we've invited everybody here, but the people that are running the JFN might have to keep going. You know what I mean? But that's all you would do, probably be sometimes when I see them up but it's because I have to go so.
I was
There's a one eating corner
actually
there.
thinking of
Where's
encompassing
the-
your time
Your
just getting the right
I'm seeing it.
effective communication period.
Dennis.
And what we talking about being assertive and then finally priorities and measures you mentioned. Yeah, that's really relevant to this group.
No, it's relevant. It's to bring everybody in that direction. Through the use you better evaluate because all they got, you don't have to. These are good.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just saw that a bit on the board about why have so far it's affirmation, it's appreciation, confirmation. Actually, this meeting, and I want to keep the momentum going. But I think this bit about being however you get challenged.
How can you address certain issues with that? I'll give you more of the
As a window, we can't grow anything. Anything we grow is everything else.
I don't know, like part of
Yeah, frost.
the communication with positive.
This one.
Sometimes we go
We have to grow them. Very expensive. Anything that has to be imported, like fashion and strawberries, you can keep them and there's a short season of growing season. It's not planting February, March,
and
in May, the frost will finish. So we know it's safe. Same for tomatoes. There's only a season. You can't keep having one.
yeah, let it go.
You
That
only get
was
one
for
crop.
John to organize. So,
It's very different.
One thing I just wanted to check with you guys on the conversation.
You know, we should talk about one specific
okay, wanting to be represented solutions. I mean, we want to know what's wrong.
That's a good strategy, isn't it?
So not ending at a problem, you know, and say, no, that's not development leadership, you know. Recognize the problem, that's something that's being so get back to your superiors or your bosses or your colleagues. Not to say it has to and I really do want Cheryl.
I'm eating when you're
Not just a bit or
It's very nice. So, in my house at home, I can't have peanut,
Of a group.
because Katie,
When you don't feel like you're getting
allergy to peanuts.
to the bottom of
Honey, can you
the problem,
imagine having an allergy? Can you guys
well, then they're never going to get a solution.
how serious that is?
Anyway,
I just
Because
find
you
what
have to eat peanuts.
I'm going to track what you said. You're very straight and also probably
She has to have an EpiPen
one of the stories you probably told me was the Betty
with adrenaline in it, so she accidentally has something to eat and she has a reaction. She has to protect herself.
problem is, I think you've understood the problem you're having.
You don't really hear about it, do you? Or do you? Yeah, we don't have food. Yeah.
hardly a day goes by with
So many allergies.
this place here. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I totally think that. I totally think it was all really designed to eat this process. You know, everything's got additives, preservatives, colours, and
I think in the listing,
that's what my mum and dad because they got. I've been so long road. They've only had food from their garden, fruit from the village, or towns. You know, if I was to go round and I have all like stuff food, Chinese food. I don't say that smells. What are you
Okay. Agatha, are you selling notebooks there and pens if people didn't bring one?
what have you got? You've got phones that you can write.
Or are they writing on their phones? What are they doing this afternoon, you think?
You don't have to take notes, but there's
Just
just
an observation.
particular exercise.
Jamie, can we go to the back so that we have something?
Sure, we're going to bring everybody to the front here. Betty's coming, and who's back there? Barbara's coming. Yeah, they're all coming in these two rows.
Because otherwise
Cheryl and I are right here. Jenny and Peace will go further back. That's okay. So we're still eating. Let's say, boy, you must be enjoying your food, Krista. Is it, or is that your second place? No. You don't have enough room for two places.
No problem.
Okay, let's give it a couple more minutes. Actually, I don't mind, but you okay. We've already thanked you for cooking. You know, it was really good, and I got some new people that love the breadfruit chips, the wedges or whatever you want to call them. So they're taking a suitcase full to UK on the weekend. All right, I think I'll go ahead and just start just talking about Jemmie here, okay? And Jenny, and Peace. But we're going to have people fill these chairs. You're not going to. I don't know how many there's going to be. We counted about 25 or something like that. So people are going to sit up here. Yes, sir. Or, oh yeah, how much? So the only person home in this row you know, there's a Rose there. You might have to get Rose to call Rose. Okay, does she know you? Okay, that's fine. Then we'll do it tomorrow. When it's back. Okay, everyone. This is great. You guys don't run away. I don't know. I see 3 people walking away right now. And if you're in the row where Mary is, you're probably going to be asked to come to this row after you eat, okay? So we're going to do that. I better wait a couple minutes. I see how many people have disappeared all of a sudden. Huh? 3 or 4, that's all? I don't like, if you get to know me and I'm the driver of your vehicle that you expect to get in. I used to be, for a mission, I would drive a bus. And, if you didn't come on time, I would leave sometimes. I would say, too bad, that's it. On the other hand, what I don't like to do as a leader is start moving without all the right passengers sitting in the seat, because then they come late and they don't understand where they're going. Because usually at the beginning of a session, whatever you're doing, is the time in the first few minutes is when you lay out where you're going and what you're doing. So a lot of people, they come in late and they're sitting there wondering what's going on, and it's too late. So I like waiting till everybody is here. We have already had a meeting this morning with some of the leaders, and if one disappears, I just stop and wait till they come back. Okay, because I want them to be part of the meeting. It's important enough, and today is very important. So, Agatha, where's everybody going with the dishes now? What's going to happen? Help me here.
That's dropping dishes in
Okay.
and I found it.
Okay, and you're putting that on your phone or something? Okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Well, let's wait just 2 minutes, but make sure they come back. The kitchen people usually can delay. I want them to get this too today. Oh, they're in there.
Because these seats are empty.
Yes, I'm coming.
No, these guys are okay. The others,
Somebody needs to move up.
yeah, they're just finishing their food. Oh, they're finished.
They are coming.
Okay, they're finished. Am I keeping this, Joshua, or is it going to Jemmie?
Yeah, in case you're not using it, I can turn it off here.
Pardon?
I can turn it off here in case you're not using it, but
Well,
anyone will be speaking.
When you feel like you want to start it, you start it. But you can start it from there or from here.
That's to start from here, so
Okay.
I have to put it back here. I have to put it back here, and I say it's going to be like...
Charge it. Okay. Great. By the way, you're watching some of these videos. They were made in the last few years. The creative one is, well, we've got lots of creative people, but Agatha was taking the lead and thinking through how we're going to do things. And we just decided this morning that we're going to do some more. We'll have them in the next month. And one or more will be done by a group from the University of Wichita, because they are here now with 18 interns, full of energy, ready to do something. So Agatha, those are the best group to grab and to do some more videos on. So that'll be fun. People like to see them. Do you put them on TikTok or where do you put them on YouTube or?
So far, all videos have been on YouTube. But
Okay.
we could think of maybe short clips for
Shorter clips, because you guys are all in shorter verse of entertainment. Okay, I think we'll start now. Okay, everybody. This afternoon we're welcoming Jemmie and Jemmie. They're good friends for years gone by. They've lived in Uganda for some time at different points. They're from the UK, and they're joined with Peace, who I think just what everybody knows Peace by now, because Peace is a good friend of us and a good friend of Rose, and Peace is a teacher in Kampala, and so she comes out during the holidays. So the three of them are together. I don't know if I call them parents or something like that, but yeah. So they're here now, and Jemmie is a coach, a business coach. He's done many things probably in his career. One of the things that more recent, I think, is a book that he wrote called Risky Strategy. It's the guy that does things slow and steady, and the guy that goes fast.
Yeah.
And the different types of people that start businesses and the risks involved. So Jemmie does a lot of interviewing, a lot of interviewing. You've interviewed me a lot over the years, just asking how we do things. Anyway, and so Jemmie is here. They're here for a bit of a break, a holiday from UK, and I've asked Jemmie to come and just share with us. He's shared in this GLC other times and in other places too. And the last time I believe it was, I don't even know, it might have been 3 years ago or a year, no, it could have been a year and a half. 2 years ago.
I think it might have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago, okay. And one of the areas that I always ask them to share on is communication. And of course, there's people that can sit in on the session. It's only a few weeks ago that they got quality internet out there. Took a while. And then it goes also to Nyanga Farm, where there's some staff. So, hey, we're improving in our high-tech side of things so that not everybody has to come here for the day. Before Jemmie comes forward, I want to, of course, everybody knows Cheryl. I'm just thinking, who might not be known here by some of the people. Agatha leads this place at JC and manages it. Joshua works here and there and everywhere. Joshua also helps with our Trees Our Future, and he's got his license now, so he drives. Nora is from Yanga Farm with the hat, you know. Okay, and she is in charge of harvest and does more work than that there. Mary is responsible for our Trees Our Future and the field teams that go out every day, doing a fantastic job. Jovia is new. I'm just going through, okay, making it easier on you guys. She's only been with us a couple weeks, and she is going to be a lead on our, I called it a living soil project. Okay, sound good? Yeah. So she's come in new and just graduated on Friday, had the graduation ceremony. So at Bukalasa. So that's great. And then Rose from Tororo, I'll just say that. We have 3 Roses working in our house, led by this Rose. So we have a rose garden. Okay? And so Rose works with Rose, and then we left 1 Rose at home. Okay? We had to leave 1 there. And everybody knows Rose from Mango Tree Ice Cream and being a hostess and hospitality with Cheryl, and has worked with us for a long time. Okay? Grace is, you see that there, agro-diverse? This is Grace. She's solving big problems with big solutions. It's not just for Yanga Farm or something. This is for Uganda, for Africa, for the world. And there's some situations that she's very capable in. If you read that, agro-diverse, innovative agro-biodiverse solutions, soil, insects, plants, and animals. I think we hit it right. And if you see the background, it's a globe. It's not just Uganda. It's the whole world, okay? Because so some of you will take courses with her, and I could say more, we'll leave that. Polly is our leader at our River Nile farm. Polly, what school did you go to? Busitama. And which campus were you on? Arapai. So you're looking forward to meeting 18 new interns that just arrived last week, maybe even more, I don't know. But 18 that are coming from the same campus that you graduated from with your bachelor's, and yeah, that's wonderful. So Paulie comes in, he has to come a distance from the other farm for our meetings, for leadership, and then for today, representing all the team there. Okay? Good man. Joan works in accounts, and kind of is a director, traffic director of, you know, you see the policemen on the road, stop, going, waving their arms. Well, Joan does that with finances. She does it with money, okay? They stop. Where's the receipts? Okay, we approve this. You can go, okay? You can get it. So Joan is also was her major in university in the area of economics. Okay, so it's good to have a person. Alan, he works with us in these movies that you see, banners, picture taking, graphics department. That's his area. Betty. Betty is in charge right now of our kitchen, and everybody, if you're smart, you appreciate the cook. Okay? If anybody you're clapping for, you clap for your cook. You want the cook to be a good one. Then you've got Barbara. She's in charge of our nursery out here. Sales, coming to the nursery. Priska is part of Ginger Farmers Market and has worked in different areas also, including production, but your taking care of customers. Jemmie, there's only a few people that are allowed to leave this afternoon, but she's one of them, okay?
Oh, okay.
She's allowed to run away and serve customers. So is Barbara, and Barbara's allowed to do the same, okay? But we're all here from different locations and different aspects of the business and what we're about. I don't think I need to introduce Cheryl to everybody or myself. So that's good. We've gone through it, and we welcome you. I've got to give you, let's give Jemmie a hand, okay? Jemmie, you got to put this somewhere. Oh, you got that one?
I'll just charge that one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the afternoon is with Jemmie, but stay awake because he's very interactive. If you miss something, he won't know what to do next because it's not a one-man show. He involves everybody at different points. Okay, so thank you, Jemmie. It's yours.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Good. Right, that's so you can see me. So I'm taking it these seats are still going to stay empty. Is that
Yeah, unless some people come.
we'll get
And Agatha forces it to sit here.
very welcome to come forward if anybody wants to.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Come on down, as they say.
Come on. She's taking the second best seat. Alan, here. Sit beside me here.
Brave ones. You're going to need to be brave today. That's part of the theme. Okay, so can everyone actually read what I'm writing here? They're not all going to be so many words, but can you see that?
Can you see it?
Can. So, I decided the overall theme based on the discussions I've had with Nick and Cheryl is that we're going to be talking about getting things. I thought it was going to be getting things done, but it's getting the right things done. And that can be in all sorts of contexts. You know, you can't run a business unless you get the right things done, so it's pretty fundamental. But there are four elements to it. The bit that's most important, the bit we're going to spend most time on, is effective communication. Who was here last time we talked about effective? Can you just put your hand up if you remember? Just want to get an idea. How many you got here? Or maybe
Put your hand up high.
who can remember being here last time? Maybe that's the issue.
I think it's at least half, a little more than half.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
So we're going to do a few things the same as last time. They may come a little bit different. I'm not going to make any apology for that because I think these things are really important. And I do them all the time. We're still learning. So bear with me if you're saying, I did that last time. That's deliberate. But for those of you who haven't, then hopefully this is going to be useful. We're going to look at creative problem solving a little bit. Maybe that's important in terms of getting the right things done. So you're all problem solvers here. That's why you're here, for various reasons, in your domains, whatever. So how can we be better at doing that? We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about being assertive. And assertive is a word we use to mean, it sounds like it means being aggressive, but it isn't. I mean, it's about kind of trying to help somebody change their behavior without being aggressive, but also not just letting them get away with it and being passive. So how can we be more assertive without being aggressive? And then finally, very briefly, we're going to touch on priorities and measures, because I know that's something that's a big theme for you guys at the moment. It's coming down the track. So just very, very brief bit of theory around that. So that's the theme of the day. Just to put this in context, I'm a Christian as well. I think many of you are. I was in a prayer meeting this morning online for the International Christian Chambers of Commerce, and I asked them to pray for us. So we've got a whole wolf of prayer coming onto this workshop, so watch out, see what God does. In fact, I'd just like to start with a prayer for us. Father God, I thank you so much for this time together. I thank you that you see and hear everything, and that your presence is here when we invite you, and we invite you right now to be with us. Help us to learn what you want us to learn. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Okay. So, as a bit of a precursor, little story. A company called Google. Anyone heard of Google? Yeah, you all know Google. So Google, very big company. In fact, I think they're the second or third biggest company. And they're not called Google anymore. They're called Alphabet, but it's basically Google. They do a lot of work, as you can imagine. Lots of people writing software, and they tend to do it in teams. And they decided a few years ago that they noticed that some teams were very good at what they did, and some teams were not so good. And they wanted to do a bit of research to figure out what was it that made the teams that did things really well different from the teams that didn't do things so well. And they basically came up with an answer which surprised them. So this is the interactive bit. What do you think, what one thing do you think they discovered made all the difference in the teams that did well and the teams that didn't do well? Anybody want to have a guess? There are no stupid answers, by the way. Yes, I know.
They communicated well.
They communicated well. That's a pretty good start. That's not far off. Anybody else? Yeah. Anyone? They asked a lot of the right questions. Again, similar theme. Yeah, I mean, they thought there might be things like the teams with the smartest people in them tended to do better. You would think that might be the case. Well, the people who worked the hardest were the teams that did better. No, wasn't that. The people who were the best qualified, the teams with the best leaders who were really clear about what they wanted, they thought they might be the best teams. No. So these guys are on a similar track, but they actually came up with a concept which is about communication. So it depends what you mean by communication. So the concept they came up with was, I'm going to write it up here so you don't easily forget it, a concept called psychological safety. It's a big word. Psychological, in 2 words, safety. They discovered that teams that had psychological safety did perform better than other teams. What do you think psychological safety means? Anyone want to hazard a guess? Hoping to get some different. I'll come back to you again in a minute. I'm hoping to see somebody else who might want to come up with it. Any ideas? What do you think that is? Grace, I'm seeing your lips moving, so.
Go ahead, Grace.
Go on, what do you think it means?
Okay, I think it has to do with someone like feeling safe or happy with freedom. Either to talk about things like
Yes.
you have that safe space. You are not scared.
Very good. Beautifully summarized. Exactly spot on. You have the freedom to say what you feel you need to say. It's a safe space. Is that what you were going to say? Yeah. And that's at least what we want to have today. We can. This is a safe space. Okay? And it's important, I think, for the culture of your organization that people feel safe. When you're working together, they can say things, feel free to say things. So that some of the ideas that they come up with, like, people feel free to take turns in conversations. So which is why I'm encouraging you to participate. I'm not just going to keep asking Agatha to talk, I want everybody to talk. And you will have to talk at some point because I'll put you in situations where you have no choice. Your social sensitivity. You're sensitive to each other. You know, that's the person I know who has difficulty in this. I'm open, I understand that. You trust each other, you respect each other. You feel comfortable being yourself, right? Do you feel comfortable being yourself? And as you said, it's a safe place to take risks. Hence the book, Risky Strategy. Actually, there are risks we don't want people to take, obviously, in business, but actually to encourage people to take risks. These kind of risks, psychological risks, psychological risks are important. People feel, I can say that, and I'm not going to get shot down. So, that's a useful bit of background information, which sets the scene, I think, for communication. And in fact, what we normally do at the beginning of courses is we do a bit of contracting. You want to know what we mean by contracting? Basically, we agree how this meeting is going to run. So anybody got some ideas on what they think is going to be important? I'm going to suggest one straight away. Mutual respect and support. Basically built on this idea of psychological safety. That we will respect each other in this meeting. We won't be overly critical of each other. We may challenge each other a little bit, but we're not going to be critical of each other. We want to show each other respect. Anything else you think is important?
Don't look at your phones.
That could be one.
That could be one.
In fact, I'd like to suggest that is one. Very likely. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's contract. Can we contract that you don't look at your phones during this meeting? It's totally good. Unless I tell you to for some reason. That you don't get distracted. You don't just keep wandering off because you're fed up with what I'm saying. Obviously, if you need to go to the loo or whatever, that's different. One often happen, which is probably doesn't, you might argue, makes no sense because you've got the bosses here, which is what's in the room stays in the room. But we can kind of do that. Do you know what I mean by that? So what you say here is not going to get repeated out there to your boss. When your boss is here, he's going to hear it anyway. But the point is, he's not going to use it against you. Do I agree?
Yes.
Do I agree with that? Whatever you say here, he's not going to say, what you said in that course, I'm going to get you for that. All right?
But everything is recorded.
We're going to do our best with that. Okay. So, effective communications. Let's. What I'd like you to do now is we're going to do a check-in. This is all about this. So we are going to get you all talking. Very, very briefly, I want you to check in, which means I just want you to tell me how you're doing right now. What's on your mind? What brought you? What maybe is still going buzzing around in the back of your head? How are you feeling? Try and not copy what everybody else says. But I don't want a whole speech. I just want a sentence or two. So I'm going to start. My check-in is I'm feeling good to be here because actually I've had a bit of a cold and it's gone. And I'm really excited about seeing all your faces and working with you guys. I just think this is such an exciting project. Mostly positive. What about you?
Well, I'm the same. As I look out from I've got this viewpoint.
Yeah.
So I feel really good about the people here. I just, when I walk around and introduce them, I have a good feeling. That this is the right team, the right time, and the right subject. So I feel good.
Okay, that's good. They don't have to be positive, by the way. We just kind of both started off positive, but whatever's going on for you, what about you? Remind me of your name again? Alan, that's right. I wrote it down, but you were over there at the time. So Alan is now down here. Okay. Yeah. What about you? How are you doing? Okay. Bit nervous.
Ready to run.
Okay. Good. But I like that. So a bit nervous. That's good. Yeah. What about you? Mary.
Anxious, fatigued. Yeah. But up for the challenge.
Sure.
Up for the challenge, really.
Up for the challenge. So did you say anxious,
Yeah.
fatigued, but up for the challenge? Okay. Good. That's very good. Yes. Somebody just repeat what you said. You have to speak. I have actually got my hearing aid in today.
Okay.
Turn them up. But
She starts each day with a grateful heart.
Oh,
She's
good.
in a position of gratefulness. So she's basically a happy lady.
Very good.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. Yes.
Nora, yeah.
Laura. Just happy. Just kind of just open up and just not too far into it, but just okay. That's good. Yes. Is it Joshua?
I'm happy being part of the team today. I'm happy that we're also involved in this kind of studies. Since last time I missed it.
Oh, you missed it last time. Oh, that's even better. Brilliant.
Just a bit nervous.
And a bit nervous. Okay, so that seems to be a common theme. A bit nervous, but happy. Okay, I got it.
I'm excited for
Right.
this training because the last one really, like, I learned a lot, did a lot of introspection as well, and I also know that it was a very good thing for the entire team,
Okay, thank you.
for myself.
All right, so you've decided to been there before, and it's been very nice to me as well. Yeah. Yes.
I'm also excited and curious. Just want to know what is going to happen.
Excited and curious. We're all good. Yeah. Grace.
Okay, ready to learn. Like I feel like I want to learn something new about communication, and then also I like the energy that is in the room. Yeah, it's not boring. I don't like boring sessions, so I feel like this is life. You have to stay alert.
All right.
Yes.
So you're not worried it might be boring.
No.
It could be. Right.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about eating pork.
Good. So that was the main thing on roast.
Always number one.
Good. Good honesty. Yes, the pork was the main thing. Yes.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm hoping to learn lots of things, especially regarding communication.
Okay. We're hoping to learn. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, me, I'm
Jovia. Yes.
I'm happy to be here for this lecture and learning session. I really want to know more about effective communication because it deals most with being honest, which most of us lack.
What about being honest? It's hard to be honest.
Yeah, like effective communication involves being honest.
Okay.
Most people lack. So I really want
Most
to
people
know.
aren't.
Yes.
Oh, very good. I like that. Bit of honesty there. You find most people are not honest, and that's half the problem. Okay. Yeah. Did anyone have like a bad trip here, or the cat die, or anything like that? You're all welcome. Whatever happened. You don't have cats? Yeah. Happy and ready to learn. Okay, so we've got a few of these, happy and ready to learn. Anybody got something different? It's on their mind?
I'm so excited to add on what I learned last time.
You can't remember what you learned last time?
To add on.
Oh, to add on to it. Good. Let's be honest then. You can't remember much. All right, good, that's good. Yep, go on.
I'm John.
Yes.
Yes. Me, I'm just curious. I want to know.
Just curious.
About what is going to happen, but also I'm excited to have this opportunity once again. The first time concerning the communication session,
Yeah,
I was still new.
yeah.
Yeah, so
you
now
might-
I'm here again, so I'm happy for the chance, for the
You
opportunity.
might do better this time. Okay, good. All right then. Peace.
I have it divided attention. I want to hear you, but I want to also go and grab my ice cream.
What do you say when you get your ice cream?
I want to hear what you're saying, but I also want to go and grab my ice cream.
Okay, she's got ice cream on the mind. Okay, a bit like us because they like each other. Rose and Peace, think about the same thing. Food.
Me, I'm so happy you're my husband.
So far that's dishonest response. Yes. Are you Joshua as well?
Yes, I'm Joshua.
Yes.
Well, I'm eager to learn because I know learning does not stop.
Yeah.
So every day is a new opportunity to learn.
Okay.
So that's why I'm eager to relearn.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Eager to learn. Yes. Ladies at the back here. Yes.
Me, I'm excited and ready to learn about communication.
Okay. You're excited to be learning about communication. Yeah. Didn't have any pets die or anything like that? No. Okay. Somebody's got to have had something happen. Go on, Dorothy.
Yeah, I was just invited this afternoon.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the program. I've never been here.
Okay.
The first time when you were here. But I'm here to learn new things about communication.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I'm picking up this. Most of you are here to learn, which is good. There's a kind of a curious and a here to learn. There's almost a sort of slightly hidden agenda, which is, am I really going to learn anything from this Muzungu? I don't know. Has it got anything to teach me? No, I'm reading too much into it probably. Okay. Right.
Excuse me, Jimmy.
Jemmie.
Yes.
We also have people who are watching live. In case you want to engage them, they can always be sending the questions right to the YouTube or to my phone.
Just write, yes, right. If you want to check in.
Yeah, I'll keep on checking, yeah.
Just write something. Just one sentence. How are you doing? What's happened?
Okay.
Anything that comes to mind. The idea is that everybody takes part. You feel safe to take part. You want psychological safety. Okay. Communication. Okay. This was written on the side next to a lake. So what do you think it means? What would you do when you read that? What would you do? Peace, come on. Can you remind us what you said you'd do? Can you read it?
Crocodiles do not swim here.
Yeah.
So this is my interpretation.
So what would you do?
It tells you can't swim.
It says you can go for a swim. Does everyone agree?
No way.
No way.
No way.
You're like a swim.
I would start looking around for the crocodiles. Forget the swimming part.
So, classic case of miscommunication, right? I think it's just a comment or a comment. If you had an exclamation mark there, maybe. Crocodiles! Do not swim here. Suddenly, it means something completely different, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the crocodiles don't swim here.
Someone think that you're telling the crocodiles not to swim there.
Yeah, crocodiles don't swim there. That's another good point. Okay. Right. All right. Communication, yeah. Okay. Done the check-in. Right, so what I want you to do now, because we're going to do a little bit of an exercise later on, if you can, I can see some of you got paper, hopefully you've got some pens. I want you to think about an issue or a challenge that you have. I don't want it to be a general challenge, like, work is boring or whatever like that. The boss hates me. Something specific that you might be thinking is on your mind, or something that's happened to you recently, a specific issue that you have. I would like you just to write it down. Just one sentence. If you can summarize it in one sentence, just write down. And the reason you're writing it down is not to hand it to anybody. The reason you're writing it down is because I want you to refer to it a bit later on when we do an exercise. And I don't want you to be thinking about it then. I want you to think about it now. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Just think about something that might be bothering you, some issue, some challenge that you have. Just write it down so you can remember what it is when we do the exercise later. Okay? It could be a small thing, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Something that's bothering you. Stop me. Doesn't seem to work. Is the coverage a click breaker?
There you go.
are we getting on with our issue? Have we all made a note of it? I want you to be able to remember what it is when we think about it next, please. Note. A little thing. Just keep it with you. Don't get hand it in to anybody. It's just to remind you later what it is. You want to, sorry, I should have said something you're prepared to share. So if it's really private, then that's not something you're prepared to share with a few other people here today. We're going to call it your issue or your challenge. Okay, so what do we think is the key to effective communication? What do you think is really important with effective communication? We've talked about psychological safety. We'll expand on that. What do you think makes communication really effective? Any thoughts? Yes. Good. Participation to the back, yes.
Active listening. Active listening.
Active listening. You were here at the last course. Okay, you jumped straight to the answer. Well done. See, what I was hoping was people would say, oh, you have to be very clear in what you say, you have to make sure you put exclamation marks at the end of words, whatever. All those good things, and all important. But, yeah, you heard the answer. Is, I believe, active listening. I used to, when I was a management consultant, I was with PricewaterhouseCoopers. They have a big office here in Uganda, Kampala. One of the main things I did, I was involved in their strategy team. I used to be involved in doing work called Voice of the Customer, which was like researching what the customers of businesses actually think about the businesses. And it's surprising how often we'd go to a business, often the work we would do with the business was cost reduction. How do we make the business more efficient? Quite often I ask, so how do you know that you are doing the right things for your customers? How do you know you're making the right products or doing the right services in the right way? So often, companies didn't really have a very good idea about their customers. So we put together a program called Voice of the Customer, which is really a simple bit of research, maybe complicated bit of research, but basically trying to understand what the customer really wants for the business. I ran a course when we were in Kampala at the business school there at Clark International on Voice of the Customer. And one of the exercises I did during that course was I asked somebody if they could come and sell me their watch. Does anybody remember this from last time? Yes, Cheryl remembers it. Let's have a volunteer, very briefly. Who would like to try and sell me a watch? In fact, you can. Well done. So, sell me this watch. Just as role play, yeah? Who wants to have a go? Joshua, go on. Look at it. What would you say? Oh, you've got a nice one. Yeah, that's very similar to mine. That's really interesting. Go on. Try and convince me I should buy your watch. You're going to get it wrong, okay? So you're being brave. That's the whole idea. I think you're going to get it wrong. What would you say? What would you say to me?
I have the watch.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a nice watch, waterproof.
Yeah. Waterproof? Yeah. Okay.
It's waterproof. I think to work for you. It's timing, maybe you are excited to why you need to check the time, not all the time checking your phone. So I'm selling you that so to support my business.
Oh, to support your business? Okay. You think I like it to support it? Okay. There's a question there? Are you asking me a question? What do we just go? Okay, where's the around? What happens next? Huh? Go on, throw me a question. You want me to buy your watch? Is that right? No. I'm not going to buy it. Why do you think I'm not going to buy it? It's just a role play, okay? I realise this. We're just pretending. Why do you think I'm not going to buy the purchase price? Anybody else? Put in your response. Any thoughts? Anybody got any ideas why I don't want to buy the watch? Yes. I've got another watch. That's a good start. I've already got a watch. And actually it's pretty similar to what you said. I've broken it. That's an interesting point. I've actually broken it. So, what could you have done? What could you have done differently? What he did? He did exactly what everybody does. So you're not unusual. He fell into the trap. What trap did he fall into? Not knowing anything about me. How is he going to know something about me? Ask. So if your first question was, hey, do you have a watch? Yeah, I've got a watch. Tell me about your watch. Oh, it's quite nice. It's very flash. Actually, I got it quite recently. Just broken the strap on it. So it's a bit of annoying because I was hoping to have a watch to travel around with and I don't know if I can get it fixed. You get the idea. So what might you then have said? What about if I could give you a watch that isn't broken? Would you be interested? Okay. Now I'm interested. You see the point? The voice of the customer, not voice of the salesman. You want to hear what the customer thinks, not what the salesman thinks. And that's the general theme of the communication. Active listening. Are you hearing what the other person is saying? Are you understanding what the other person is saying? Or are you just communicating? I'm telling you this is the case. I'm not listening. I think in Uganda apparently you say things like active what? Active listening, is that right? You know what I say? Active what? Active listening. Yeah. But actually real active listening is not just saying active what? And just to put this in context, James 1:19, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak. Do you recognize that? The Apostle Paul. Good listening comes from a humble heart. He doesn't look only to his own interests, but the interests of others. He's patient and kind. Jesus exercised listening. He was always asking people questions. What do people say? Who do people say I am? He could have just said, by the way, I'm the Messiah. He didn't. He said, well, who do people say I am? And what do you think I am? He went to the Samaritan woman and said, will you give me a drink? Oh, I need a drink. Will you give me a drink? There's loads of argument. When he was healing people, he didn't just say, okay, come over here, let's go. He quite often asked questions. What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do? I'm interested in what you want, not just what I think you need. Okay, so there's a good Christian precedent for the idea of active listening. So, active listening, what is it? What is active listening? It's more than just listening. What sort of things do we do when we're trying to listen well? We're going to have a few suggestions. So let's go with Grace. You had your hand up first.
Yeah. Active listening has to do, it's listening with the intent to understand, not to respond.
Yeah, okay. Listening with an intent to understand. Okay, Dorothy. Yeah. I'll come back to you later.
Active listening, you listen to the words, the expression of the person talking, and because some of the expression can also tell you what the person is really going through or feeling or
Very good.
Listen,
You're not just listening to the words, you're listening to the body, how are they standing? Okay. Yes, Rose.
Getting the feedback.
Huh?
Getting the feedback.
Getting the feedback. Explain that a bit more. What do you mean by getting feedback?
So, like, in case you have something that you want me to do,
Yeah.
and I do it, I have to go and then I tell him that is
No, that's okay. So it's after doing it. So there's a part of that which is about after doing it. Feedback is very important, of course. But also in the process of agreeing what you're going to do, what I thought you were going to say is active feedback is you play back to him what you think you're going to do.
yes.
So we call it, do you do that? Clarifying. We call it clarifying. So you notice I'm doing some of this, right? I'm doing it with you guys, right? Partly because my hearing aids don't work so well, and I just wanted to make sure I've heard you correctly. Okay? So I play back to you. I play back to all of you, I think, what you just said to me. That's active listening. It worked two ways. First of all, it makes sure I didn't really hear what you told me. And then secondly, actually makes you feel that you're being heard. Because I can be just going like that. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. You wouldn't feel quite as heard as if I'm saying, okay, I get that. Right? Were you going to say something? No. You looked like you were, but body language, you see. I was reading her body language. Anything else? What other things do we do when we're listening actively? Yes, please.
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Yeah. If somebody listens to you like, you go like that, you're looking the other way when they're posted. Do they think you're listening? Probably not. Darling, what do you think about me and listening? Come on, it's your big opportunity now. How good am I at listening?
Not so good.
Not so good. And how does she tell most likely? Because I'm not actually looking, I'm looking at my phone, which is today. So she's pretty sure I'm not listening. Okay, what other things? Anything else? So many things, right? Yes. Checking, understanding, playing it back, nodding. Yeah, that's good. There's something a bit like clarifying. If somebody said a lot of stuff, you don't necessarily want to say it all back and you probably can't remember it all. So what we do is summarize. Okay, what I think you've just been saying for the last 5 minutes is you want me to go dig a hole. Why don't you just say dig a hole? It took 5 minutes to say dig a hole. Right, okay. So let's do something.
Could I say, so you want to take the weekend off. You want to leave Thursday night and come back Monday morning.
Yeah.
Is that what?
That would be summarizing.
That would be summarizing, trying to clarify.
Yeah. Because they may not have come straight. They said, well, I'm thinking maybe if I wasn't here on Friday, and then I kind of didn't really do much on Saturday, and then maybe Sunday, of course, is a day off anyway, and it's a long way to go. And you would summarize it. So what you really mean is you want to go on Thursday and come back on Monday.
So I get that as a real thing. Somebody says, I want to take Friday off, but he or she means, I want to take Friday and Saturday off.
Ah, okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
So I have to ask a little further. You mean, so you're going to be up for the whole weekend? You'll be back Monday? Yes.
Okay.
You got it?
Got it.
Okay.
So we've got a few tools here, which you're going to be practicing in a minute. Okay, if you're paying attention. We talked about body language. Dorothy came up with that. Supporting. That's a kind of another technique. Supporting. So actually, if somebody thinks, if it's a, so take that example. Okay, so I'm assuming if you ask for a couple of days off and you're not really due them, you're probably a bit worried that you might be not getting a very good response. And Nick may be saying, well, actually, I can't afford you to go for the weekend, right? That might be the response. But he might not be quite so difficult to hear that message if Nick were to say, I'm not saying you would, but to say, I appreciate your honesty in coming to me in advance rather than just taking a week off without telling me, and your braveness in thinking that you could get a weekend off without. So you see how he starts off with supporting. It's a supporting role. Let's not just be negative straight away if something's a really bad idea. Think about what's good about it first. It's a supporting role. And then the tough message may be right. But unfortunately I can't afford for you to go. Asking about feelings. So we didn't do that in the check-in. I do sometimes. So I say, well, in fact, a couple of you said you're feeling anxious. Actually, if I've been really on the ball, I'd say, so what's that? What's that all about? Why are you feeling anxious? Let's explore that a little bit. There's something else. There's more to this than just feeling anxious. Okay? So feelings can be important. Obviously, when you start to get into feelings, that can make it a much longer conversation that you might not be prepared for or have the time for. But it can be very powerful. In my coaching experience, if I get a situation with a client where it's clear that something very difficult is going on, if I don't address that, the conversation is really not very helpful. So feelings, sometimes getting into what's really going on in terms of feelings, actually I'm really in a bad way because my daughter's very sick, or whatever it might be. You're not going to get very far with your coaching session if you don't address that issue. You can't solve all the problems, and there probably is a limit to how far you can go. But sometimes asking about feelings is good. And one other which is quite useful and difficult as well. Feelings is difficult. One other.
Content.
What?
Intent.
Intense. Is that how you felt? That's your feelings that's going over there. I said, what else is there you could use for active listening? And I'm demonstrating it right now.
Silence.
Silence! Silence is golden. Gosh, how hard it is to have silence, isn't it? Well, actually, you guys are pretty good at silence. Maybe the boss is not so good. I don't know. I don't want to put any ideas to your head. But yeah, so silence can be very effective. Right? Literally, it feels uncomfortable. I mean, if I'm in a coaching session and I just stop talking and my client stops talking for a couple of minutes, it feels a bit awkward, right? Because they're paying me money to talk to them and I'm not talking. But actually it can be really powerful. Because all of a sudden they'll suddenly say, no, now that I'm thinking about it, what I just said to you is not quite right. And they start to work things out in their head because they've got this space, silence, very important potential tool for active listening. Okay, so those you're going to use later. I just want to major on one other aspect of communication which is really important. And it's summarized with this word. What's that word? Assume. Assume. I've written it slightly funny. Why do you think I've written it slightly funny? It's got a hidden meaning.
Yeah.
You're on the right track. Yeah.
Us, you, me.
Yes. So when we assume, when we make assumptions, we can find ourselves in a situation where it is making an ass out of you and me. Right? We've assumed something is the case, but we haven't checked because we haven't been actively listening. We've assumed. Our assumptions, don't get me wrong, we all make assumptions. You have to make assumptions, right? When we're going to do a problem solving a bit later on, you have to make assumptions. The problem with assumptions, if you're not explicit about what they are, you can get things very wrong. So we make assumptions, and then we need to be clear what we're assuming. And if we're not clear what we're assuming, we can get ourselves in a lot of trouble. So if there's one message, apart from active listening, I want you to take away from this session on communication, it's be clear about what you're assuming. What are you assuming? And we're going to do a little exercise. I don't know if we did this one last time or not. If you know the answer to this, please don't say it, because it's more fun for the others if they don't find out straight away. So, let's tell you a little story, very brief. You are a police detective. arriving at a scene in a room with a mystery which is presented to you. In this room there is a table, there is a dog, there is a pool of water on the floor, there's broken glass on the floor, and John and Mary are lying dead on the floor. I'll repeat it in a minute. Okay, if you know this one, please don't spoil it for everyone else. You can ask me questions to try and solve the mystery, but I can only give you the answer yes or no. Now you have to solve the mystery. So many of you want to have a go at this. You have to ask me questions to try and solve what's happened here. But I can only give you yes or no answers, so you can't say how did they die, right? I'm not going to tell you. You've got to ask questions that are answered with a yes or a no. So let me repeat it. Scene. Now the detective in the scene is a table, a dog, a pool of water on the floor, broken glass on the floor, and John and Mary are lying dead on the floor. Detectives, go for it. Who wants to go first? Yes. No, the table was not broken. Yes. Yes, the dog was alive. Question so far. Anybody else? Yes, Grace.
Was the table inside the house or the
Yes, the
outside?
table was inside, yes.
Was the door open or closed?
It was closed. Some of these are not particularly relevant, but I'll give you an answer anyway, just to give you an answer. Yes, it's closed. Huh?
Was there any distance between the two bodies?
Was there a distance between the two bodies? No, not much distance.
Yeah.
They were close together, yeah.
Any signs of shooting?
No signs of shooting.
Did the body have any marks? Any other thing?
No marks on the body. Good question, though. Narrowing it down a little bit.
Any alcohol?
Any?
Alcohol.
Alcohol?
Yeah.
No alcohol.
Any signs of poisoning?
You're not wrong. No kinds of poisoning, yes. No blood. Yes.
Was the water soapy or was just paper?
If your question is, was the water soapy? No. So these are good questions. At this stage, I want to get some other people get involved. The point of this exercise is as I'm giving you the information I gave you, what do you think you might have assumed? I know for sure Agatha's definitely assumed this based on her questions. Right? Some of these are more open questions, maybe they're not necessarily assumed. But what might you have assumed about the information I gave you? Yes.
I'm assuming they were just killed.
Were they just killed is the question. Yes, they were just killed. But that isn't the assumption. What else? Yes.
I'm assuming there was violence.
You assume there was violence.
Yeah, because of the broken glass.
Depends how you define violence. I'm saying no, not really. No, not violence. But that isn't the assumption. Huh? What? You've got it. No. You have to ask a question, though. You have to ask a question. Don't just say I've got it. What question will check, will unravel whether or not you've made that assumption. Anybody else? What else could we have assumed in this story? I'll repeat it one more time. There's a table, a dog, a pool of water, broken glass, John and Mary lying on the floor.
Yeah, we assumed they were dead, but
Sorry, no, I did say they were dead. Sorry.
Said they
John,
were dead.
I'm sorry, I got that wrong. John and Mary lying dead on the floor. Dead was correct assumption because I said dead. What else what might you have assumed about that line? John and Mary lying dead on the floor. Yes.
I'm assuming maybe, okay, they are a couple. So Mary slid and fell because of the water.
You're assuming they're, let me stop you, you're assuming they're a couple. A couple,
Yeah,
a couple.
yeah. The husband came to help the wife, and they all fell.
What do you mean by a couple?
Died.
Yeah, you've already created a whole story in your head. None of which is mentioned here. You have all the information here. Well, I should have said you have all the information here. As soon as you get your assumption right, you will solve the problem, I can guarantee.
Okay, now the dead, what does the dead mean in that sentence?
Dead, very dead. No life left. But that's a good one. Yes.
That's it.
So I'm going to make it more obvious. So John and Mary lying dead. John, what do we assume about that? Sorry, what did you say?
He's the man.
The man. What else could it be? Why did you assume it's a man?
Okay, the moment you say John and Mary, and then you set the scene, like kind of like a home setting. I should be said, the couple that stays there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you assumed?
I assumed it was like Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
That's why I asked.
So what could
about-
you ask about that assumption to make sure it's right or wrong? And I'll tell
Are
you.
they a couple?
No. They're not a couple. They're not even a couple of... Couple of what?
Like a dating couple, a married couple.
Couple
They
of
could be
what?
siblings.
I'm asking you a question. A couple of what? Couple means two of something.
Yeah.
A couple of what?
Married.
A married people. What assumption are you making?
This is their home, that's the assumption.
Yes. She's going to come. She's looked it up, have you?
Yeah,
She cheated.
So I'm assuming
Yeah.
the glass fell from the table and broke. It had water in it.
Yes.
So-
Are you reading something off of it?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Those are all correct. Those are all facts you'll be given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The glass was on the table. Maybe the dog pushed the table over. The glass fell,
Yeah.
but in the glass there was water. So that's what caused the pool of water.
Yes.
So
How does that explain why John and Mary are dead?
Yeah.
How does it explain that?
They slid from the pool of water and then they died.
They slipped on the pool of water.
Yeah.
We're very close, but
Maybe the house has tiles.
the last.
Tiles.
Okay. I'm trying to make this as obvious as possible, but it's a good one. Huh? Yeah. Okay, well hopefully you got the idea right. You've assumed that John and... You've said it, but you haven't done anything with it. You've assumed that John and Mary are people. Oh. Then what could they be? What? Parrots? Parrots. What could they be? They're not people. They're lying on the floor near a pool of water with broken glass. What could they be? Fish. See what happens when you assume? Make an ass. Okay, one more. We'll do one more. Now you got the idea, okay?
You guys got it?
No.
Did you get it? They are fish.
They're fish. John and Mary are fish.
John and Mary are fish.
They fell out.
The glass
They're
is
in the
broken.
pool of water.
The glass is broken.
They were living with
Dog knocked it over and they fell on the floor. They drowned. Okay. Once you know they're fish, it's not very difficult to say. So this one's a little bit shorter, same idea, and then you'll get the message. Okay, a man and this. Okay, yes.
Okay. Why would I actually go as a detective to see fish? I mean,
Good questions, say good questions. That's just a test. Yeah. So that's what threw you, the fact you were a detective.
Yeah.
If I'd said that you're the homeowner or something like that, you'd do a bit more. Okay,
Very
all right.
valuable fish.
Yeah. They're very valuable fish. Okay, a man, it's a good one. The man and his son are in a car and they have an accident. The man is killed in the accident, the son is injured and he's rushed to hospital. In the hospital, the surgeon says, I cannot operate on him. He is my son. How is that possible? I'll repeat it. A man and his son in a car and they have an accident. The man is killed in the accident and the son is injured and rushed to hospital. At the hospital, the surgeon says, I cannot operate on him. He is my son. How is this possible? Question. Yeah. Yeah. Your intuition. You're into intuition. Just get the facts. The son is not dead. No, the man was killed. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from the victim of the accident,
Yeah.
one person died. Doctor says the one who died.
I think you've changed the whole story in front of me. So there's only one person died here, the man died. The son was rushed to hospital. Surgeon, who is alive, says I cannot operate on him, he is my son. Anybody else? It's not about intuition, it's just about checking what you're assuming. Yes, go on.
So the man who died could have been the driver, not the father of the child. So maybe the father survived because you say the man died, but we are not sure which man died.
The man and his son. The man was the son's father. Was the son's father, yes. He was killed. Yes.
I'm assuming the surgeon is a lady.
You were assuming it all along, so you just keeping quiet, right? Everybody else has assumed you was a man. Very good. The surgeon is a woman. That's what you assumed he was a man, because surgeons, even in the West, but probably here very much, I'm guessing, normally are men, right? But not necessarily. So, those are assumptions. All right. How are we doing? See, this is why you should have sold me a watch. So that wouldn't have to keep it. Okay. We're going to do some exercise now. I think one last thing. So recap on effective communication, active listening, eye contact, nodding, clarifying, checking understanding, supporting, summarizing, noticing body language, asking about feelings, silence. One more thing I want you to think about in terms of that. It's called the explore question. Powerful question. Now, some of you who were here last time, do you remember we did push-pull exercises out on the lawn here?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember what that was about? You can't remember what the point of that exercise was. That's failed miserably. But anyway, but it's exactly what we're talking about. So basically, if you just push, you're just giving information. Whereas if you pull, you're trying to get information. And the point of the push-pull exercise was, without doing it now, is it's much more effective if you're pulling rather than just pushing. Why? Because the person you're trying to pull is more motivated, go faster if they're pulling. So one of the techniques, apart from all the active listening, one of the things we tend to do when we push is we prescribe. If you turn that into a pull, we have something called explore. Right, what is the difference between prescribe and explore? Prescribe is, I've got a suggestion. Or it might even be more than a suggestion. I want you to do this. I would like you to do this. Or if you're in a coach situation, I think you should do this. Or it can even be framed as a question. Have you thought about doing this? Right? And we use that. It's not like it's a bad thing to do. It's a classic push situation for anybody in authority or anyone who's a coach. We use prescribe. think, have you thought about doing this? Maybe you could do that. That's called prescribe, and we call that push. Pull is the opposite. So how do you think you would ask a pull question, an explore question? What would you do instead of have you thought about?
What are you doing? About
You remember? Okay. What are you going to do? Now that we've talked about it, what are you going to do? Simple, really, isn't it? We want to end our conversation with, okay, go and do this, or I think you should do this, or whatever. What if you changed the last thing you said in your conversation was, what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do? I call that the explore question, and it's very powerful. And you might think, as a coach, I remember when I first heard about this as powerful, so you think it's a bit of a cop-out. Again, I'm paying you a lot of fees to tell me what to do. Now you're asking me what to do, right? So how's that fair? I've paid you all this money, and I need you to tell me what to do. But it's much more powerful if your client, your subordinate, whoever you're dealing with, works it out for themselves. And if you've had a conversation with them and you've explored, you've done all the active listening, they're now in a much stronger position to figure it out for themselves than they were when you started, right? Presumably when they first came to you, they don't know what to do. They've got a problem. They don't know what to do. So staying right at the beginning isn't necessarily very helpful, although it can still work. What are you going to do? But once you've applied some active listening, you've explored, helped them to think about their problem, you've helped them to summarize it, you've played it back to them, you've supported them. So now what are you going to do? Is a powerful question to end the conversation with. All right? Now what are you going to do?
So in the workplace, this is kind of, when I'm listening to this, it's happening all the time. It's happening all the time. Especially when you walk around and you ask a question, you want to engage somebody, and then the problem starts to unfold, and you keep asking. But as a leader or as a boss, I really want to know what you're going to do about it.
Yes.
Not what I'm going to do about it. Right? Like that's the growth in or the problem solving that is the best kind of problem solving.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. But
Yeah.
I see that
But it's
happening a lot.
It's not the opposite between I'm going to do it versus you're going to do it. It's the opposite between I'm going to tell you what to do rather than you're going to work it out.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's still not my job. It's your job. I'm not taking on your responsibility. You've still got to do it. And you need to solve your own problem. Right? So that remains the same thing. It's just that me telling you what to do, prescribing what you should do, is not as good. It might be the answer. You know, in certain circumstances, you can't sit around talking for hours trying to figure out what to do. You know, if there's a fire, you want somebody who's just going to say, get out the building. Right? That's fair enough. But in a more involved situation, it's a much more powerful intervention. Rather than you suggesting or proposing this is what you do, to ask the person involved, now what are you going to do? They may say, well, I don't know. Okay, so that means you still need to do a bit more active listening, but you really want them to solve the problem. That's the ideal outcome from the conversation. Does that make sense? So, we're now going to do our exercise. So I want you to get into threes. And so, don't move just yet, because I just want you to pay attention to what you're going to do. Okay, so in threes, each of the three of you in your threes, one of you has the role of being a client, one of you has the role of being a coach, one of you has the role of being an observer. Okay, and you're going to switch it round, so you're all going to have a chance at each of those roles. So the client, this is where your little problems that you worked out earlier. Your client, you're going to say to the coach what your issue is. Okay? What's your issue? Then the coach is then going to apply active listening to you, the stuff we've just been talking about, to help you process work out how to address your issue. This is genuinely what we do as coaches. I'm going to ask you questions. The temptation, what is the temptation? Temptation is to jump straight in and say, prescribe. I think what you should do, okay, I've heard your problem, I think you should do that. What's wrong with that? Well, A, you're probably assuming loads of stuff. B, it's almost definitely not going to be the best solution because they have not had time to think about it. It's just your idea. So this is why you're going to practice active listening, and you're going to finish by an explore question. So you have to pay attention to what an explore question was, to be reminded. So, client, problem, this is what our problem is. Don't make it long. Just pretty much what you've written on your piece of paper, which is usually one sentence max. Coach is then going to ask you some questions, apply active listening, and at the end of 5 minutes, let's say no more than 5 minutes, the coach will then ask you an explore question, which you as client should respond to. Okay? The observer then gives you some feedback based on all the stuff we've been learning this morning. Feedback mainly to the coach. What did you see happening in terms of their skills, active listening? Which of those skills did you see him or her using? Okay, that's your role as observer. If you've got time, you want to maximize 10 minutes per session. The client can also say a little bit about how they felt about it. Was it helpful? The main thing is that an observer is going to say, what I saw happen here. You're not interested in solving. Observers, you're not solving the client's problem, okay? Observers, your role is to help the coach work out whether they did use active listening or not. Alright, so that'll be up to you to remember what that's involved. And once you've done that, so that's 10 minutes each time, then you switch roles. So when you start off, you need to assign who's going to be the client to start with, who's going to be the coach, who's going to be the observer. 10 minutes later, when you've had that session, then you switch roles. Somebody else is the client, somebody else is the coach, somebody else is the observer. One more time. So you all have a chance of being a coach, you all have a chance of being a client, you all have a chance of being an observer. And so that should be about half an hour, and then we'll get you all back. So, is that clear? I'm going to wander around just in case you're not clear. Any questions? Are you going to practice this stuff? If there's an I want to stay near the camera. Yeah,
You guys working it out here? Three, there's two.
You got a 2 there, you got a third.
Okay. Tom, you have to go around here, or something has to happen. Or one of you turn around Okay. You got
Yeah, I'm busy.
Alright, there we go. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Alright. Who's the client, who's the coach, and who's the observer? You're the client, you're the coach, I'm the observer. Okay? Okay, so you wrote down a question before, or something, as a client. Remember that he asked you to write something, how did he say it? You have a problem or something? Yeah, an issue. Is it okay to say it? I mean, outside big, is it too big to solve right now? Is it too big to challenge? Or is it yours is the problem, and she's the coach? Can you say it or not? Because he said you got to be ready to
decide who's doing what to start with.
Okay.
Then client gets going straight in.
Okay. Go ahead, client. The coach, and now you take over. You're the leader of the session. Good job. Well, what did she write down, or is that a different thing? Is that a different problem? Okay, so did you do that? Or no? You didn't? Did you? Yeah. Oh, so it's out, and it's outside of yourself, you mean, like it's, boy, I don't know if that. Okay. Can you be the coach for that question? How can I get good my vision? Yeah, but the coach just wants to be very interested in what vegetables do you have? What are you doing? You sound interested, right? And then you get a picture of what she's doing. I think, right? Yeah. Okay. So what kind of questions would you ask her if she says, where do I find the market for my vegetables? I know my first question is, what kind of vegetables do you have? Okay. Well, anyway, you ask it. You go. I'm gonna back off. Okay.
Now it's full. I've just received like maybe 10 fruits. And they were all diseased. Yes. Yes, I've been applying water. It's my duty. Spread around. Yes, I've tried that. I've tried everything you told me. You didn't tell me.
You mean that you find it difficult to get the money? It says all you mean to save the money, but you came with other purpose. Do you have a 6 week?
We're just trying to figure out questions.
Later it is that. Tell us. Hey, now you can observe what
No, you see what they're talking about. Yeah, so what's No, we are finished. We are So now, who's the coach?
I don't mind being the coach. You said you're having a hard time finding
Okay. switching places. Who's going next?
They can last a little longer. Like I know it's gonna last longer than you. When they're ready, they're ready.
I've been a client. Who's the next client?
So you are you the manager
If it's cancer, you also can't do it's going to automatically happen.
right?
No, actually, it's there.
You go around and you restaurant and you provide them with you don't want to change the
I spit. Agatha, Nora's something she's saying.
So where are you right? Where are you right? Are you at the nursery now?
Right now.
You're at the nursery.
Well, I hear your problem. It's great that you want
I think the way it's small is after you think this okay, I can hear you. It's fine. And I don't work. So I can be like, what do I
Okay, so what are your ideas? The pressure.
I came, I broke.
when was the last time you were to see that this is
I rechecked.
What do you think
what about it?
are some possible
What is the biggest challenge you face? Is it that fuel that you can't fuel cost you or the ability to get the same data?
Patience. What's all in
What other options have you found? What options have you found?
Patience, where do you think the lecture?
So what options do you think you have before driving while others will be aware of
Looks like the staff are not doing it properly. I don't know if you can summarize for them what we are trying to do. From Nyanga farm and Nyanga farm. They're not doing it. To summarize them. Just re-explain to them very well. You're asking me that you can re-explain very well. Can I point the camera to you? Okay.
Okay, to clarify, you're in groups of 3. They are here. Each one of the 3 has a role. First role is the client. Second role is the coach. Third role is the observer. The client presents his or her issue, problem, to the coach. Whatever you wrote on your piece of paper or however you thought about your problem before. Just one sentence is enough. You're just starting the process. Coach, this is where the key learning is coming from. Coach then uses active listening to work with the client, to help the client. So that's all the things we talked about in active learning. Summarizing, making sure you've understood the problem, clarifying, asking open questions, all that good stuff, eye contact, supporting, all different tools. What you want the coach to finish with, once you've done that, then the client has had a chance to talk more about the problem, obviously, in that process. And typically what happens is the client starts to elaborate, explain more, and understand more about their problem. At the end of that, the coach then asks the explore question, which is, what are you now going to do? I'm not going to tell you what to do or suggest what to do. I, the coach, now ask you, client, now what are you going to do? And that's the end. The client then responds to that. And the observer, the third person in the group, gives feedback to the coach. They're not interested in the client's problem. They will feedback to the coach to say how did they do with the active listening. Did they follow active listening or did they try and solve the problem for the client, which is the normal track? Or did they provide feedback? Did they summarize? Did they provide eye contact? You give the coach feedback on how well they did with active listening. And then you rotate and everybody does the same thing again. With different roles.
Alright. So thank you, Jimmy. Hope people at NF you've understood the question very well. And RNF, let's try to perfect it. Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yeah, we are done. We are doing the last First time they observed. But these two, and then
So the one you just did, I have observed.
then they were the observers.
You observed. How did the coach do it?
So, Jennifer and Patience with your team, What I'm displaying on the whiteboard is the summary of what you're trying to do. So the client shares the issue, the coach applies active listening, like as you're seeing it on the whiteboard. So please try to follow that so that you break it down.
But that is not sales. That is up and down.
Is there anything I could have done? So I'm going to be the client now.
Okay, you should be coming to the last round by now.
Sometimes, most of the time, I'm is one when they kind of like couldn't come up with a new question, they kind of like left the situation kind of like hanging, kind of like, it's like ending a session before it's really time to end it.
Okay, so that's interesting. They left it hanging. Interesting choice of words. Hanging. So what do you think, what happened when they were hanging? Did you just move on to the next session, or? Huh? Did it help? Giving it time. Did the client maybe offer something more? Hanging is like the pause. Okay, I can't think of what to ask now, so I'm just going to be quiet. What quite often happens is the client says, oh, I just thought of something else. Oh, yeah, and of course there's this. Oh, I didn't tell you about that. Start to process it more. So you don't have to have all the right questions. It's important message. Pausing and silence is a tool. You run out of ideas? Run out of ideas? How many did summarizing, clarifying? Did we see much of that? Yes? Okay, so we don't think of that. We think, let's move on to some more information, right? Rather than let's check we've understood the information we've been given. And you think, how is that helping? You know, all I'm doing is playing back to you what you told me, right? And actually, I know there's even a bit of a cultural thing here, right?
Yeah.
Your boss tells you something and you play it back to your boss. That doesn't feel good. Is that right? Am I right? Do you think you're taking the mickey a bit or something? Yeah? Yeah, I just told you that, now you're telling me it back, you know? Feels a bit odd. All I can tell you is this, in a coaching room, that can be one of the most powerful things that happens. When the client hears their problem played back to them, they suddenly hear it with a different voice. So you've not done anything other than summarize what they told you. Ideally you've summarized, you've not said exactly what they said. You've summarized it, and now that you say you said it like that, now that you mentioned it like that, maybe I wasn't doing, you know, you start solving the problem. Anyone use supporting? Encouraging the client? Was there
Oh
any?
yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like you have a problem, you can't sell something, but you really enjoy what you're doing, and you do it well. So you affirm that part before going. But what I found was, she said, "This is my problem," but just by showing interest for a little while, she came up with 2 possible solutions,
Right.
without me knowing what that would be. Right? So what's the magic in all this? It's active listening, I guess.
That's it.
Because I didn't know what I was asking, if it made any sense or anything, to be honest. And I was tempted to say, do this, do that, do this. But I didn't. But she came up with 2 possible solutions for herself.
Brilliant.
Good? Yeah.
Yes.
And then observe, I do something unusual.
Oh, no. Interesting.
The coach was a bit pessimistic, like she ran out of ideas.
The coach was pessimistic. Yes, okay.
She ran out of ideas, and she literally told
What?
the client to drop.
So can I give up?
Give up.
You can't solve this problem, give up. Okay. So what's wrong with give up?
Okay.
So give up is prescribing, right? I mean, it might be the right thing to do, you don't know, but it's definitely prescribing. I think you should just give up. But you want, you know, if the client comes to that conclusion after talking to you for 5 minutes, you know what? I realise I'm fighting a losing battle here. I'm just going to give up. That could be potentially.
No, it was the coach saying give up.
Yes.
The coach was saying give up. That's that's dangerous territory, right? 'Cause yeah. Yes, Grace.
So in our group, the coach first asked like questions regarding the problem, trying to understand the problem.
Yeah.
But then he couldn't fully like comprehend like what the exact problem was.
Okay.
Then they made an appointment whereby the coach is to visit the client's farm so that they can actually look at the problem on the ground, find a solution.
Okay.
Then in another case,
The coach said that.
yes,
I'm going to come to your.
yes, because
So
he
the coach
couldn't
is being a
figure
little bit
out.
is being a bit prescriptive then. If the coach was suggesting I'm going to come to your house, right? That's quite prescriptive.
Yeah, he couldn't figure out that.
If the client had said, why don't you come to my house? But that would be different, but maybe that would have different connotations. I don't know, anyway.
Yeah, then the second part, the client was curious, and then.
Ah, I saw that.
Even bang the table.
Yeah, and then the coach offered compensation, like at the end, like for what was not going right. And then
Compensation.
yes, it's more like I took this product and it wasn't good. So
Oh,
then the
well, it says, don't ignore what I just said before, let's try something different. Is that the kind of thing? By compensation?
no, like since payback, like paying back. Let me say if I buy something from your place and maybe it's not nice, then I come to you, I'm furious, and then you say, okay, what about I compensate you? And then the client comes down after hearing about the compensation. And then now.
That's intriguing. I've never come across that in the country. So I've just given you some really bad advice. What do you want me to pay you in return? Right? That's serious. Okay. Right. And so just a couple more observations, then we're going to move on to problem solving. So one of the things I always look for, and fortunately I didn't actually see it, I said if I'm seeing somebody doing a lot of talking, right, in a group like this, I'm then a bit worried, because if that person doing all the talking is the coach, they're not doing the right thing. Now, if the person doing all the talking is the client, that's okay. So in fact, all the times I did that, I said, you should be doing quite a lot of talking. I didn't say you were doing a lot. I'm hearing you talk a lot. Are you the coach or are you the client? In each case, it was the client, which was okay. So as a coach, you shouldn't be doing a lot of talking, right? You should be asking questions, encouraging, blah, blah, blah. But the talking should be coming from the client. Last one, did anyone try the explore question? Yeah? You tried it in your group, and what happened? What did the client do?
The client came up with 2 options.
Okay.
Yes.
So who was the client then, do you remember? So, interesting. So you came up with 2 options.
Yes.
When you first thought about the problem, did you already think about those options? Did you already have a view of those options, or did that come to you as you were talking? Right. Came to you as you were talking. So the process, this is how the process works, right? As a result of this process of active listening and then finishing with an explore question, so what are you going to do? All of a sudden, Joseph suddenly thought of a couple of options, and not suddenly, maybe you were thinking about it whilst the conversation. Suddenly came up with some options of how to solve his problem. And he's solving his problem, which is what we want to happen, right? We solve our own problems. Which leads me on very nicely to creative problem solving, because actually what you've been doing is creative problem solving. So it naturally follows on. Just want to say a few things about creative problem solving. I do a course, by the way, on this at Refactory in Kampala. We do it online. We actually call it critical thinking, but it's really about creative problem solving. So I've got a whole slew of stuff all about this, but there's some key things I'd say about creative problem solving. First talking and understanding the problem. Minutes.
Well, ask more questions.
Ask more questions. Try and understand the problem.
Try to understand more, because in that time period, it seems like solutions come.
Right.
In that process, more solutions come.
Understanding the problem better by asking questions brings you solutions. And don't worry, almost it's like a stalling tactic. I'm not suggesting that's a good idea, but I don't know what the answer is. Start asking questions. You don't know what the answer is, but if you start asking questions, start playing back what you've heard. So what you're telling me is that's what happened? Based on your experience this afternoon? Something's going to start to come out, right? It's going to become clearer what you do about it.
So, Jemmie, just a second. So if I say, I really don't like working. I don't like working with Tom.
Right.
Okay. So I've told that to someone, and so they feed back to me. So you don't like working with Tom? Already I've heard it a second time outside of myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, Tom's not really the problem. It's Then I start thinking, it's something else that's going on. It's not about Tom that I don't like working with Tom. It's some other situation that comes up. So that repetition of the problem already starts you on a path of coming up with a different problem, or it starts you on the path to a solution.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we just accept for face value what a person says.
Yeah.
And they don't even really mean it themselves, but that's the only way they found to express what their grievances or their issue is. And then that process of feeding back already starts to change the situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just an observation you guys. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
What I'm going to do differently is recognizing first that there is a problem instead of being defensive.
You're recognizing there's a problem
Instead of being defensive.
instead of being defensive. Yeah. That's why I think I wrote that first. Came up with the first bit. Problems are okay, right? Don't assume word came right. Because I've got a problem, I'm in trouble. Problems are life. Problems happen all the time. So the problem becomes when you don't do anything about the problem, right? It's okay to have problems. Mostly. If the same problem that keeps coming up because you keep doing the wrong thing, that's different. Most of the time, that's not the case. So problems are fine. Recognizing you've got a problem, and then as Nick was saying, and maybe checking whether or not you've got the real problem. Have we really understood the best problem? And if we can define our problem clearly, that's often quite helpful. So I'm going to try a little experiment here. I've never done this one before, so this is a first here at UWEPO. We're going to do a role play. I'm going to have 3 people in this role play. And one of them's going to be Nick. You get the irony of this, and then I want 2 more volunteers. I'm just going to be observer. I want 2 people to volunteer. Okay, Agatha's going to be brave. Okay, and who else is going to volunteer to be in this role play? Who else is feeling brave?
I like volunteering people.
Who's that? Who's getting volunteered? Tom?
Engineer Tom.
Just right there.
He's very friendly.
Okay, right. Guys, so you're okay there. You stay where you are because you're in front. I'd like you to come to the front. So you can be observed from a distance. If I do that, I'm going to give you this. I'll explain in a minute. Okay, so Tom, are you coming in? You're in the middle. Tom, you're on the end here. You okay with that? Or you're going to have to be happy to participate. Are you okay to participate? Good. All right. I don't know if this is going to work, but so you all take part in this because you'll see what happens. Okay, so Nick, you are Nick. So there's 3 characters in this role play. Nick is the employee. Agatha is the team boss, and you are the big boss. You run the whole business. You are in the middle, team boss, and Nick here is the employee. Okay? So you can't see what he can see. Yes. So you're a junior employee, team leader, business boss. Are you happy with your roles? So what I want you to do is just read out this. Just read it. You're not going to show it. You're effectively talking. You can hear it, but effectively you're talking to a team leader. You're the employee. You read it nice and loud so everybody can hear. Just only read it once.
Last night I burned the supper by mistake. This led to an argument with my spouse. As a result, I couldn't sleep that well. And I woke up late this morning. I was so late getting our children to school. The distance from school to work takes too long to get me to work on time. So I have a machine which gets me there faster. I sit on it, I have to push my feet down on a lever, and it turns a wheel. But none of the joints which connects the lever to the, but one of the joints which connects the lever to the wheel is broken.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Go for it. So you guys got to solve the problem. But you're next in line.
Is it like a coaching thing or?
Yeah, whatever you want to do with it. Apply what you've learned so far.
Okay. Did I hear you right saying that you had an argument with your spouse and you couldn't sleep well?
Yeah, because I made a mistake in the house. I burned the supper. Yes, that's right. So I couldn't sleep.
Okay. Did you also say that part of the reason why you came to work late is because the distance from your home to the school is quite long and you can't get there in time?
Yeah, because of us arguing, we didn't have our regular system going, so it took me longer to get the children to school, and then I realized it was going to take me longer again to get to work.
Did I also hear that part of the reason why you're late for work today is because the machine has a broken lever?
Yep. Yep. On top of the argument and the burnt supper, that's right.
I'm sorry to hear that. But what are you going to do to see that you don't come to work late?
I would like a little more sympathy from you. I got you. Okay, so ask me the question once more. I'm sorry.
It's a role play. It's okay.
Okay.
So, from now on, what are you going to do to see that you don't come late for work?
Well, I apologize again for being late for work. Okay, I'm very sorry. I try to be on time every day. I'm making good excuses now, right? And then I have to actually get off work early today, even though I came late because I have to take the machine to the mechanic to get that part fixed so I can get home and burn the supper again. No, but I can get home,
Okay.
Yeah.
That conversation? You want you two to have a conversation now?
About the situation?
It's up to you. Whatever you want to talk about. Business boss. What's going to happen now? You need to speak up, Tony, if you can.
So, the reason why you see that...
What did you ask? Sorry, Tom. I need to hear what you're saying. So you know there's an issue? Want to know what the issue is, okay? All right.
So, the reason why you late a bit with having that display ready is because Nick came late because he had a transport issue, which was a result of him not sleeping well because had an accident. But also, the lever was broken on the machine that gets him to his children's school. However, he also highlighted that the school is quite far where he takes his children, and also requested to leave work early today.
Is it a usual thing or?
That was to prepare me
Interesting
to,
question.
yeah, to prepare me to kind of like go through the reports and so I think it's a, now to answer that question, it's a two-way thing. If it's a usual thing, then I would say yes, it's a usual thing. I think it's a usual thing of which in my conversation you need to highlight it that the school is quite far. So the school is quite far. I picked that up that the school is quite far. But in this case also it was elevated by the lack of sleep due to the argument plus the broken machine. Or it's not a usual thing, and I think it's because of the lack of sleep as highlighted plus the broken lever.
So what are you going to answer him then?
It's not a usual thing.
You don't think it's a usual thing?
Then the other question is, we need to give some time to work upon it, or how it is. You still need to do it, or you can get another person.
We need to give him time to do to sack him. Boss question.
Well, since it's not a usual thing, and he has also requested, because when I was having a conversation with him, when I asked him what do you think you can do about it, he said that he needs to get the lever fixed. So he needs the time to go to take the machine to get fixed, so that is set for the next phase. So that is not it.
So it's better to figure it out. I think give him some time to do it. The last week, we better find out the solution. Maybe somehow not feel up. Maybe sometime as try to ask you to complete the issue and we get up as well as we can continue.
That's already.
For my benefit, could you just summarise what he said?
Okay, what I've had you say is that I should get someone to do this work and let him go get the machine fixed. Get someone to do the work so that we keep moving, and also get him to fix the machine so that he's safe for the next days.
That's it? That's it. Okay. Right. So let's have some feedback or questions.
Excuse me. Did Nick communicate that he's going to delay coming to work? Oh. Did he communicate before?
Did he actually say he was going to be late?
Yeah, did he? He did not communicate, I think.
Good, interesting question. Did he say he was going to be late?
Okay, I actually had that question, but I didn't get to that point of like.
So what did she do? She assumed he's going to be late. Pretty good basis for assuming, given everything he's told, but didn't actually ask if he was late. Anyway, just a little point, but it's an interesting one. Any other feedback? There's lots of learning in here. Actually, you did really well, I should say, first of all.
I've got one. Jamie, I want to know what the argument with the wife was.
What?
That's the big problem. That's the big problem, yeah.
That's what you had made.
For sure.
I was going to ask my team leader to come home and speak to my wife. Solve the problem for me.
Good idea.
No, but I did apologize. I don't know if she caught that.
Yeah, he apologized
And then
for being late.
if, as a team leader, maybe she should have told the boss that
Apologize.
that Nick apologized. It would have brought the boss down a bit.
It was pretty magnanimous.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay, but I was getting worried.
You're getting worried you're going to get sacked.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
I think to eliminate that assumption, they would have engaged him, and after Agatha talking to Tom, they would have called Nick for also the higher boss to hear from Nick, so that they don't get the assumption, because Agatha did get some information right, and she was building the solution on that. So also the big boss needed to hear from maybe Nick on his side before he comes up with.
You would have suggested big boss talks directly to them.
No, they will call you together.
All three together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting idea. Interesting idea, yes.
But does that mean that every problem should be solved by the boss, or like the team leader cannot solve up anything?
Okay, so if you do that, there's an assumption that the team leader can't solve the problem. So, yeah, I can see both sides of the argument. Interesting. How do you think the team leader did generally in terms of active listening? There's a bit of that. What did you notice? Anything you noticed in terms of active listening on behalf of the team leader? Yeah?
She did well because she was asking questions from him.
Yeah. Actually, she didn't. Interestingly, she didn't ask that many questions. Well, they were kind of framed as questions, but what did she do? What was she actually doing? Huh?
She repeated what he said.
She was playing it back. Yeah. She was summarising, playing back to make sure she'd understood. I thought that's very good. And also, she did one other thing which we learned earlier on. What else did she do? That you notice? Yeah.
She asked what he was going to do about it.
Yes. Brilliant. Well, I should think he was quite taken back by that, right? Because he thought, all I'm doing is complaining and explaining why I'm late, assuming he was late. And they should just take it on the chin and try and cover it up with the boss. But actually, the reaction was, so what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to carry your can. It's your problem. You're late. What are you going to do about it? That was very good. Any other feedback? What do we know about the boss in this, other than the fact that he seemed, at one point he's going to sack him, the next minute he's saying, I'll give him another chance? Do we know anything about the boss? Because actually, Agatha did a great job with the employees, but what did she do with the boss? What did she do with the boss? Go on. She didn't explain the real problem to the boss. I think she did a very good job of explaining what the problem was. She might not have said
immediately the boss knew that when we sacked him, and then later he accepted that no, we need to maybe give him some time to fix this problem.
Right. So what did she not do with the boss that she did with the employee?
There was a lot of more communication between her and the employee
There was a lot more.
than between her and the boss.
So her assumption in the sense that the boss was, I've got to solve the problem for the boss, right? I don't know if she spent much time finding out how he saw the problem, or whether it was even a problem. The impression was, because he wanted to sack him at some point, he probably does think it's a problem. But I think, what you didn't do was, okay, so this is what's happened, what do you think about this? Do you think this is going to be a problem? Can you explain why it's a problem to you? She could be openly asking questions to you about how you saw it, which she didn't do. Is that right? Is that fair? How would he summarize the problem, do you think, the boss, the big boss? What is the problem? What is the question that makes the problem go away, do you think, the big boss? What do you think the question is that makes the problem go away? tricky, isn't it? Because actually there could be lots of questions. Come on. Go on, you have a go.
Well, I'm going to say, do you think that this will continue to be a problem, or has been a problem in the past? You know, I would ask that, because if she says no, then the problem is basically gone. This was a one-time event, and it was, it messed up some of the business for the day, but that's the question that makes the problem go away. If it's not a problem, you know, if that's not Nick's habit, and he's never done that to me, then the problem is gone.
So, just to check, when I talk about the question that makes the problem go away, don't normally start with a do, you start with a how. You're on the right. So the question might be, how do I make sure this doesn't keep happening? Or how do I make sure this doesn't adversely affect the business? Even better question, because actually just this one incident might adversely affect the business. So how am I going to make sure this doesn't have an adverse effect on my business? That would be a kind of boss response, right? Or he might be thinking, how do I get rid of this guy because I don't like him anyway? But you get the point. We don't really know how he saw the real problem here. And we make assumptions. There's an assumption that somebody coming up late for work, if indeed they did come late for work, we're still not sure about it, is going to be a problem. Because actually maybe you have flexi time. Maybe that's okay to make it up later. Might be thinking, so what's the big deal? Poor guys had a bad day. You get the point. So there's something about not just exploring with the employee, but also exploring with the boss. How do you see this? What's important to you? What's the real issue?
Now, I would have, if I was her, I was thinking, you don't have to tell the boss the whole story.
That's true as well, yeah.
You don't have to tell him that I was fighting with my wife.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
You know, or that I burnt the supper. But you could say he had some problems at home, and then trying to get to work on time if the machine, whatever, broke down. So I was saying, why are you telling him everything that happened to me?
Okay, interesting.
I'm trying to protect myself. Okay, so I thought, the boss doesn't need to know everything.
Okay, interesting point. So in a sense,
Agatha.
That would have been, that's a good point. I mean, Agatha's done really well here.
Oh, yeah.
But so one way of solving that, I mean, she might not have thought of that.
Yeah.
But what I'm suggesting is, if she had a better understanding of what was important for him,
Yes.
then you just address what his concern is. And he doesn't necessarily need to know all the details. Or maybe the only thing is, being an employee might be late to say, is that going to be a concern? The answer is no. So there's so many variables here in terms of fixing this problem. So many variables. Yeah, any other thoughts?
Yeah, they both did well. All the three did well. And then there was also a bit of miscommunication. There's where Tom asked, like, does it usually happen?
Okay.
And I don't think there was a clear answer.
Yes, okay.
Okay, for me, I thought he was trying to find out, like, how often, like, does it happen? Does it usually, like, is it something that has been happening? But there was no clear answer.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to, so what's the real problem here? And that, you're right. That's almost a good question to ask, an obvious question to ask, because it's a frequent problem. Yeah, it looks like a problem. If it's just a one-off, really, why are you telling me? So yeah, was it clear? I mean, the honest answer is Agatha didn't know. It seems possibly. She might not have known whether it's a regular thing.
Jemmie, was there a question, does the boss really need to know? Did somebody ask that? Did somebody ask, does the boss really need to know about this? Did somebody ask that or not?
I don't think they asked that.
The one who asked is the one who just made that statement. It's the one of why are you telling me? Jemmie just said that.
Well, that's your discernment to say the boss wants to see this happen in the morning, you know, between 8 and 10, and it wasn't happening. And so then I better explain to the boss what happened, why we didn't do it. Now, if she would have said, well, I pulled this guy from here and did this, and then we covered for the time that I wasn't there, yeah, maybe she won't tell the boss. Because the boss has lots to think about. Now I'm thinking about myself, okay? But it's true, right? It was a good, I thought it was a good thing.
Well, I did force them to talk to each other.
Yes, you did, because
So the question was, what should they talk about?
yeah, but even here it says that she needs the boss to help sort it out.
Yeah.
Because it was serious enough that,
Okay, yeah, I've got that.
yeah, see, junior employee explains the situation to his team leader. Team leader reports to the business boss who needs to help the boss sort this out. Needs to help the boss sort it out. So you needed to make sure the boss was okay with what's been happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
just in the whole business.
Yeah.
So,
But it's quite deliberately vague, because what does sorted out mean?
yeah,
That's my point. So
Yeah.
I get to say, well, you know, how's
Really?
things business, if somebody's a bit late, is that going to have an adverse effect? Well, there are various ways you should
yeah,
play it, but the assumption is it's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe not. So I think that's
yeah.
sorted out.
And
means-
in real life, you guys, that happens.
yeah, I can imagine.
That happens because sometimes, let's say for me, I come pulling in and I'm expecting to see somebody, and I want because I got my plans and they're not there, and then I have to go and ask, where is so and so? And they can either say, well, he phoned that he's going to be late, or he's sick, or he didn't communicate at all. And then those are different scenarios how you deal with it, right? And how you go on. Or in this case, it is Agatha in the middle a lot of times.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's just going back the other way,
Yeah.
where she has to weigh out: is this worth telling Nick about or not? You know, is it affecting us in what way? Sometimes she doesn't even know why I need Tom there right on the. You know, when I arrive, I'm reversing the roles right now,
Yeah.
and so she might not know that.
Yeah.
But, and then I will go through her backwards and say, you figure this out, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So these are real life
Yeah.
situations with us to keep good relationships. So again, Jamie, you tell us, or help us figure out, well, what are the keys to this problem solving? You know, what are they? What are the keys? From here to there to there.
Yeah, I think the key is the stuff you demonstrated, which is understanding the question by asking a good question and summarizing well, making sure you've understood the question. The key is not assuming there's a problem. The key is also understanding what the boss wants, what's important to him in this situation. So with all that kind of understanding stuff, because he's straight into solution mode, really. He was straight into solution mode. We've got to sack him. Okay, second thoughts. Now let's keep him and just, get someone else. So, he needs help with you sort of saying, well, hang on, what is it we're trying to solve here by sacking him? So it's the understanding the problem. It keeps coming up again and again and again.
Okay.
Before we make decisions, quick decisions. One last one to finish on though, because what is the question that makes Nick's problem go away? Any thoughts? Agatha's had enough work on this. Throw it open. What do you think, from what you remember of his story, what do you think is the question that makes Nick's problem go away? You focused on the boss, you didn't focus on Nick. Jenny saying he needs to focus on his wife. Any other thoughts? And what's the question that makes Nick's problem go away? Remember what it was? Or we've gone too far?
Maybe how are you going to fix the problems at home?
How are you going to fix the problems at home? Okay. Could be. Could be that's the only real issue here. Is all the rest is kind of circumstantial. The fact that he's late to work, the fact that his machine broke. Any ideas what the machine was, by the way?
Bicycle.
Bicycle. Could have said a bicycle, but I just wanted to kind of confuse you all a little
What
bit.
do you think? What was it? What kind of machine?
I hope there was a motor school far away.
Was a motorcycle.
It was a bicycle, because motorcycles don't have levers in their feet.
Oh.
I suppose they do.
Yeah, bicycles.
But it has a chain connecting the feet to the bicycle. So, actually the point is there's a lot of different problems, actually. So you could say, well, actually, the real problem is how do I make sure Nick has a good home life? Or it could be, how do I make sure he doesn't have a problem getting to work? Which could be solved a number of ways, right? If you keep it as broad as that, it could be fix the bicycle, it could be move closer to work, it could be change a job. There are lots of different solutions, right? So how do we make sure it's easier for him to get to work?
You could also go and learn how to cook nice food.
Yeah, it could be, make sure you learn how to cook better. Exactly. Very good. Or stay out of the kitchen. Stay out of the kitchen. So you get the idea. By defining the problem, we can come up with lots of possible solutions depending on how we define the problem. Okay, that's brilliant. Well done, guys. They genuinely need a round of applause because I realise with these exercises, like the ones you guys did, this one, you're basically being set up to fail, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
If you got it all right, then nobody would learn anything, right?
That's right.
Or we just say how wonderful these people are, then you're doing right. So you are set up to fail. Agatha did really well, actually. And you guys did well because you were very decisive. But there was also lots to learn. Okay. So that's all we're going to do on creative problem solving. We're going to move on to... Yeah, we're getting close to 5. This last bit, I don't think we'll do the measures. We'll just do the assertiveness.
Okay, these are the ones.
Yeah, just... okay, so what is assertiveness? Just talk a little bit about being assertive. It's an interesting concept. A work colleague, we're going to call it, could be a peer. Peer means somebody the same kind of level as you in the organization. Could be a direct report, somebody who reports to you. Or it could be your boss. Could be your boss. Sometimes it feels a bit more tricky with your boss, but no reason why it couldn't be your boss. Is behaving in a way which you are not happy with. And that's the scene. They're behaving, this colleague is behaving in a way that you are not happy with. What do you do? Right? What do you do? Let's hear from you. What do you do? What do you guys? Give us a couple of examples. What do you do? Somebody's behaving in a way you're not happy with. What do you do? Yes.
You talk to them about the way they're behaving and see if they can change.
You talk to them about the way they're behaving and see if they can change. So it's kind of... Okay, interesting. Anybody have a different variation? That's a pretty good answer. Anyone have a different variation on that? What's your own experience? When somebody is not behaving the way you'd like them to behave. Is that always how you do it? You sometimes do it differently. You what? What was that?
She said she mutes herself. She becomes silent.
She becomes silent. Yeah, you become silent.
I have
Interesting.
just a question.
Yeah.
Okay, the scenario shows like if it's direct to what if it's on the observatory side, like the observing the situation. It's not directly to you, but it's lying on the observing side.
This is it. You've got a colleague who's behaving not the way you would like.
Yeah.
You just observe.
But no, if you're It's just a question. If you're on the observing side.
No. I'm talking, let's say it's personal, right? It's affecting you directly.
Oh,
It's affecting you directly. So what do? And so we've got two versions. One is you talk to them about it, tell them how they're behaving. Another one is you just kind of, let it go, let it go, let it go. Okay. So we have three concepts. Assertive, let's just talk about. Sorry, that's no wonder I'm getting aggressive. No wonder I'm getting confused. That should be aggressive. Aggressive. Assertive. And actually, we're going to call this aggressive again. All right. That's brilliant. Because this one is active, and this one is passive. You might have heard those expressions. Active aggressive is, I don't like you doing that. You don't stop. I'm walking out. I'm going to fire you. I'm going to do something to you. Don't do that too much. That's active aggressive, right? Stop doing that, or else. Passive aggressive. Probably what Rose is talking about. I'm making assumptions here. I'm not going to do anything about it, except I'm just going to be a bit awkward, maybe not turn up on time, maybe give the person an angry look every now and then. I'm just going to rebel quietly without letting them know that I'm not happy with them. Passive aggressive. It's actually arguably even more dangerous than active aggressive because the person involved doesn't really know what's going on, right? Except they know you're not cooperating to some extent. I mean, you may be just a lovely person and just be able to shrug it off and not feel passively aggressive. But normally, if somebody is behaving genuinely in a way which is not making you happy, it'll be one of these two, potentially third options. So assertive is a middle ground. How to deal with it. And Rose 2 is on the right track. So let's explore a bit more what assertive is all about. So assertive is the middle ground between passive and active aggressive. It recognizes you and that other person deserve respect. Okay, these are a few principles when it comes to assertiveness. It prioritizes the relationship between you and that other person. All right? By the way, this teaching is used in marriages as well. You can see why. All right? It says the relationship is important. More important than the problem we're facing. My priority is to protect the relationship. Okay, the problem with active aggressive is it really kind of damages the relationship. Passive aggressive also to some extent. It does recognize, though, for the relationship to do well, each person has their own boundaries. We call them boundaries. Now, there are limits of what's okay in terms of behavior. We call them boundaries. And they're normally justifiable. Not always, but quite often, your boundaries are normally reasonable. The other thing it recognizes is that you own your own feelings about the other person's behavior. So if I try and ignore it, the problem with passive-aggressive is I'm still feeling pretty bitter, right? The person's treating me bad and I'm feeling bad about it. So I'm owning that feeling. That's what happens. You need to own it. And you can try and suppress it, of course, and that just causes more problems. So we own the feeling about that other person. It also recognizes you do not control the other person. You cannot control another person. You can think you can manipulate them and guide them. At the end of the day, you cannot control that person. Ultimately. All you can do, you might think, I beat them a lot or wherever I can control them. Ultimately, you cannot control another person. You can control your own actions. You have complete control over your own actions. So assertiveness recognizes. I can't control the other person, but I can control. So what is the process there's a process. And the process basically means I explain the positive impact on my feelings if you change your behavior. I explain the negative impact of my feelings if you don't change your behavior. And also finish off, we follow through on what we say. So if we say, if you carry on doing that, I am going to do this, we need to follow through on that. It can't just be idle threats, otherwise it has no power. So, to recap on what the assessment process, assertiveness process is, you explain what the behavior is in your colleague that you're not happy with and how it makes you feel. Right? This sounds quite very prescriptive, having talked about being a very good listener. This is very prescriptive. I don't apologize for it, but I think it's a powerful process if you get it. To explain what behavior in your colleague that you're not happy with and how does it make you feel. You're not going to talk about the other person's feelings or accusing things. You're just explaining the fact that you keep disobeying everything I say just makes me feel disrespected. Makes me feel disrespected. Makes me feel like a worthless boss. Or the fact that you keep shouting at me makes me feel like not a very good human being. I feel undermined in my work. Okay? Do you see the point? It's your behavior that's making me feel like this. I own my feelings. You can't do anything about my feelings. You can argue, well, I don't shout that much, or I don't do this, blah, blah. The point is, this is how I feel about your behavior. You go and ask them to comment. Do they want to comment? Because they may turn around and say, I'm sorry, I had no idea, and it was hurting you so much, or making you feel that bad, and I will stop doing it. So you may get a result straight away. Normally the process goes and you state what is the behavior you would like to see. What is the behavior you would like to see? So you will stop shouting at me. If you stop shouting at me, we will have a much better, enjoyable relationship. And I will smile at you more, and I will be on time, whatever comes to mind. You control. I control how much I smile. I control how much I'm on time. If you stop shouting, I will be on time. I will listen. Explain what you would do if they carry on. Right, this is the tricky one, right? What's the sanction? Got to be some kind of sanction. If you carry on shouting at me, I will keep coming into it. Whatever it is, whatever you think. Well, I'm just not put my effort into the work. I'll wear a miserable face every time you see me, and I'll stop putting effort in. I won't work any extra hours, whatever it is that you think is reasonable. There's a consequence. There has to be a consequence to that person not changing their behavior. And then you repeat the positive sides. But if you do change, if you do stop shouting at me, whatever it might be, as I said, I will work enthusiastically, I will do this, I will continue to smile. And that's it. That's the process. It's a very powerful process. I'm not to say I'm very good at it myself. My wife will testify to that. Yes.
So, Jemmie, I think you're saying that if, like, to your culture, it's okay, very fine to be like, yeah, if you do that, you be sweet. But if you don't use a hammer here, you're not going to get it. If you be sweet all the time, there are times you need to be tough. If you come next time late, I'm going to ask Moza to deduct some money from you. Yeah, it's not that. If you be sweet, maybe if I want to get like that, alright.
Yes, it's tough, but it's like a classic sandwich, isn't it? So, you know what I mean by sandwich? Positive, negative, positive. So, you emphasize, first of all, emphasize it's your feeling. It's not them. You're not trying to second guess their feeling. They may be very angry or whatever. That doesn't matter. It's your feeling. And it's the sandwich is, if you change, this is going to be good. Maybe I wasn't smiling, now I'm going to be smiling. So there's a positive. There's a positive aspect for you. If it's all negative, it's not very good. So this positive aspect is, if you do this, I'm going to really enjoy working with you, whatever, I will specifically do so. If you don't, though, there is a consequence. And then I'll repeat the good stuff. Do you see what I mean? So it's not all negative. And it goes back to, like we were saying on the coaching, you know, trying to solve somebody's problem, but actually it's very powerful to be supportive as well. Because when you're supportive to people, they respond differently. You know, actually, I like that idea. I like the idea of us seeing you smile more. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop doing this. Do you get that? I say, like that aspect. And sure, it's not worth me going down that road if it's upsetting you, because it's not about what it is for me, it's about what it's doing to you, how you're feeling about it. You're the one that's being assertive. Okay, so, does that make sense?
So Jemmie, between active aggressive and passive aggressive, I wonder what the feeling is, what people see more of, just in you know, our culture here, and you know, in conflicts and things. What do we see? Active aggressive more or passive aggressive more? Active. You're saying active aggressive. She's saying passive. I'm just curious. How many people would say you see more of active aggressive? Put up your hand.
Did you say Whipple or in society?
No. In society. In society. In society. You see, who says he sees active aggressive? Okay, and then who sees passive aggressive? Put up your hand again. Passive. I don't know. Some people don't have hands anymore.
They're being passive aggressive already.
Yeah, that's passive aggressive. And some of you have two hands.
Yeah, definitely active.
No, I'm just curious about that. I would say in this society, well, I don't know. You see both happening, but a lot of times very tolerant of situations, very tolerant. So it's more passive aggressive. It might come out someday though as active aggressive.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it?
That's the problem.
Ultimately, it bubbles up and you can't.
And it becomes worse than just aggressive, like active aggressive. Anyway, I think you guys understand what Jemmie is saying. And the middle ground is a place of communication that should never be broken as much as possible. You know, I won't tell you his name. I have a neighbor here. He just doesn't like me. He won't look at me.
Yeah.
He won't. Nothing. You know. I've tried to stop sometimes and talk to him, and he just turns away and goes somewhere. I can't do much about that at this point. Maybe someday I'll find a different scenario. Maybe sitting in a restaurant or a bar or something, and I would be able to talk to him. But some people are, you know, he's in that passive aggressive towards me.
Right, yeah.
You know, and maybe I can't solve it right now.
Obviously, I mentioned relationship. In assertiveness, relationship is king. So if you haven't really got a relationship, then maybe it doesn't really matter.
No.
You can argue. Maybe your neighbor.
Yeah.
If you never really have any reason to deal with a neighbor.
Yeah.
But in workplace, clearly, relationships are going to be important probably for most of you. Yeah, that's why it becomes important. Important that in your actions, so basically we're saying in your dealing with a problem, which happens, problems happen, they're normal, and problems often are related to behavior. In dealing with a problem, you still prioritize the relationship.
Yeah.
And you need to have some way of dealing with it and not letting it fester and bubble away. So what is the way to deal with it without it becoming more of a problem? And this is what I'm suggesting is a good process. It's a process that genuinely holds respect, values the relationship, but it recognizes there are some things it's okay for you to say, I don't like you doing it. It's okay to say that. And because of the way it makes me feel. Not because I've got some moral, you know, there may be a moral thing going on as well, that's a different matter, but actually when you personalize it, it's different, right?
Yeah.
I don't like you doing that because it makes me feel sad. It's a personal thing and it's affecting the relationship. That's why it becomes powerful. So, how are we doing? You want to role play?
Well, what time is it now? It is
5:15.
5:15. Let's say 15 more
15 more minutes?
Do you have, like, wrapping this up, well, there's some key things that we'll remember always, like active listening. Like, right, you guys? You got that point? We have to listen better, right? The other one, last time I remember now, and it's coming all, you know, the question that makes the problem go away. That's what we came away with as a big one from your last year.
I remember it. Okay.
Oh man, we were using it all the time. We were using it all the time.
Right.
So, because there's lots of issues that come up, and then we would say, what's the question that makes the problem go away? And so we're going to stick with that, and now we're going to add it more, even more, for new people in here. What's the question that makes the problem go away? Do you guys remember that? We were using it just every day in the office. So, Jemmie, thank you for that. Like, that's a very, very important one. And this one, we got to get our head around how we relate to people, and you know, like you say, you know, my wife's here too, so I know where the where the weaknesses are there. And when you walk closely with people, or you walk with them 6 days a week, or you sleep in the same bedroom, or you're bound to have these things start to happen. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have to learn how to deal with it. But I tend towards the wow, let's get it out there, you know. And one of the principles of building a good team that we learned is you have to have conflict. You have to have conflict. You cannot escape conflict, and you better get it out. You know, that's still like in meetings and stuff. You better get it out. If you are silent on it, that you'll never build the team like you want to. You'll never build the relationship like you want to.
So the question is, how do you deal with it without busting the relationship?
Without breaking the whole thing. But the sooner we learn to communicate our feelings and and have that respect and everything that you mentioned, the better chance we have of healing and walking together, you know, and in relationships, friendships, and in a company sense too, because we see each other at least 6 days a week, and then it's bound to happen. The girls live in one house together, a number of them. Well, do you think that's easy? It's not easy, right? So these things come into play, because what happens then at personal will affect them at work too. Won't it? It will. Of course it will. Go ahead. Anyway, I've said enough, but I'm with you, Jemmie. We really appreciate what you're doing. Go ahead, Agatha.
I have a question. In the process of assertiveness, I would like to put it in a workplace setting. When you're communicating about the actions, should I say? Like, if you continue doing this, I will do this.
Yes.
Is that supposed what you're going to
Sounds
do?
like a threat.
Yeah. Sounds like a threat.
Is
Is it related, what you're going to do, is it related only to feelings, actions, or just one of them?
Okay, so it's a good point. Number one is your behaviour. By you. Number two is change behaviour. My action. My action number one. Number three, don't change behaviour. My action. Number two. And then number four is two. Right. So there's kind of there's three aspects to this. There's behaviour, your colleague, there's your feelings, and there's your actions. You cannot control the behaviour of your colleague. What you can do is control your actions, and then depending on what your colleague does, that will affect your feelings. So you see how they play with each other. What I'm doing is owning my feelings. In explaining your behavior, I'm not saying you're not allowed to do that. I'm saying when you do that, I feel bad. I'm owning that feeling. You can't tell me I'm wrong, because if you're making a moral choice, they'll say, well, actually, the Bible says this, you're wrong. So we make it a moral argument, it doesn't work. If you make it, I mean, it can work, obviously, sometimes it can work. If you make it an argument about how you feel and why this is a problem for your relationship, remember, over all of it is preserve the relationship. If you make it about that, then you do have this sanction which you can control, what I am going to do. And there's only two options really. You change your behavior, or you keep doing what you're doing. And my actions are different depending on which way you do it. I would suggest, I mean, if we have more time, I think there's enough time now, that it feels quite a formal process. Try it. Practice it in a role play. Don't try it for real first off. Just try it at a role play in your houses or in your little team to say, okay, let's pretend you're treating me badly by you always lied to me or something. Do a little role play. Maybe something closer to the bone, I don't know. Or maybe you have something something that's not too serious but serious enough that you want to address it. Just try it. Just try literally following the numbers. See what happens. Yeah.
Just over the years of experience, I find a lot of friction is caused by unexpressed expectations.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you handle that? When someone has an expectation and they have never expressed their expectation and their feelings of anger or frustration is based on the fact that the other person has not fulfilled their expectations that have not been expressed.
So the unexpressed sounds like passive aggressive. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
The expectations, I'm assuming, are about behavior. Normally.
Behavior, or what role someone's going to play in your life, or
See, if they're about performance, I think we're now on dodgy ground, because all sorts of factors could affect performance. So you've got to establish, if it's a performance issue, you've got to establish to what extent your colleague is clearly the reason for the performance. And that's a different kind of discussion. But once you've established the reason why this isn't happening is because this person is not working hard enough, or is just lazy, or turns up late, or doesn't care about their work, or whatever it is you perceive as their behavior, and that's what's really the problem. Then you're into this. And I think it's more difficult to do with performance, if that's what you're doing. Like you're not earning enough money, whatever, I don't know. What other things you discuss in relationships? The things you can't control. The thing is, you can control your behavior. That's what you're trying to nail down, is behavior which you can control. I can't control your behavior, you can. So that's what this discussion is about. Your behavior. What I know about is how I feel about it, and also I can control how I respond to your behavior. But I can't control your behavior. That's the principle. Makes sense? Still worried about this? Try it out, and if it backfires really badly, let me know.
You'll be in UK.
I'll be in the UK, I'll be miles away, but at least I'll know what.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we almost there?
Yeah.
We are. One of the things that you showed us right away today was you kind of set the ground rules. I don't know what you called it, but with communication, one big thing that you hit on right away is let's be vulnerable. Because you ask the question, how do you feel today? How do you feel today? What's going on with you today? And that, then already you're moving, you're vulnerable. Instead of saying I'm fair, I'm fine, you're required to start to open up. And then with that, you also guided us with that idea that we must respect each other. That, you know, it's not going out now whatever anybody says anywhere, because you respect each other. So the vulnerability and respect are foundational for good communication. And we would like to be a better, better group of people. We want to demonstrate, Christ-likeness, in our work together. And we've got a long ways to go. We struggle. The pressures are on in different ways. But I think you're helping us keep on that right track. Problems can only be solved if there's communication with each other, and so you've given us again some tools and on how to move ahead. And I think Jemmie, the next time we'll have a good report for you, whenever that's going to be. Based on some of the things you've shared. It's not like mystical or magical answers. It's just simply the principles and acting on them. Even role playing is a hard thing for people because you're vulnerable. What if I make a mistake? What if I don't understand or something like that? It's okay. That's another thing you said. There's no wrong answers at the beginning. So you're accepting people. That's another thing in communication. You accept. Doesn't matter if you got 10 university degrees and he doesn't have any. And you're communicating, you give him the same respect, the same opportunity, and the same listening as, well, you should.
Is there a trapdoor here or something?
No, there's mind settling too. So I think there's some things that we can reflect on already that will help us. And maybe we all get better at this, I'm thinking of Psalm 33, how blessed it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Well, it's the same thing in work, in the workplace. We want to walk together in unity as we're growing and learning, and everybody comes from a different background. One of Uganda's things, when you were saying this one, active aggressive and passive aggressive, I was thinking of how people drive here. That's more on the active aggressive. There's not much passive there, and there's the middle ground is very rare. Something is always happening where somebody is doing more than they should, and we're always on the defensive. So, but in our relationships, again, some of us
think about it. I think I used to drive assertively.
Assertively?
Yeah.
Oh,
when I come to a roundabout, I basically say, if you stop now, you won't crash in, I won't crash into you. But if you do stop, don't stop, I crash into you.
Yeah, I know.
It's that principle.
And I think I have it rise in me sometimes too. Those who ride with me know. When I get fed up with it. And then I say, here's what I say. Everybody has brakes and no one wants to die today. Although that does happen. Anyway, Jemmie, we appreciate you and Jenny. Appreciate the teaching, the friendship, giving up the day and coming over. And it's a journey. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. If we had, if I could just lay hands on somebody and there, now you're all fixed and you have the communication skills, that would be easy. But it doesn't happen that way. Life doesn't happen that way. And so we're learners, like you said too, at the beginning. We're learners together, and we're just going to keep going. So I'm going to commit this back to the Lord, okay? And Father, I thank you for Jemmie, and I thank you for each one in this room that has participated, and as they've opened up their hearts and just tried to understand how to be a better communicator and a better person in the end. We've asked for your help. We ask for your help in the things that each one of us is weak at, where we fail. We ask you to pick us up, teach us your way, forgive us for the times we have. For the broken relationships that are there, show us what we can do. Show us our part, where we have to step in and give us your wisdom and give us your heart. Thank you so much for WEPO. Thank you for our trees, our future. And now I can thank you for Agro Diverse too, and thank you for each team member that we have here, and help us to become more like you, and more loving, more kind, more forgiving, and yet being assertive in the right way. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. Let's give them a hand, okay? You guys, you better stand up, because otherwise I have to carry you out of your chair, you know. And stand up and we'll give them a hand again, okay? All right? Everybody up, okay? Any final words from anybody? You know, and I've said a lot, but anybody else want to add a word to it? Yes, Cheryl.
I just have one word, and that is that the enemy is the accuser of the brethren. So when we feel negative towards someone, when we accuse them in our hearts or judge them, we need to remember where that thought might be coming from first. When we don't want to be vulnerable with someone and share in the middle way, you know, then we need to remember who the accuser is, right? Because sometimes there might not even be a problem, but the enemy can create a problem to bring division and to stop us from doing what we know we're supposed to do. That's all.
Thank you for that wisdom, Cheryl. Yeah. Okay, God bless you guys. Quickly back to wherever you have to go tonight. If you need to see me, come and see me before I will take some of you back to Kayak.
Ice cream for 2 kids.
Oh yeah, go get an ice cream, okay? Does she know? Does Susan know? Of course, you might have to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah.